Chapter 1174. Are you an idiot? A blacksmith doesn't even know about the black crystal? To place one's pride mocked Wang Yu mercilessly when he saw that Wang Yu did not even know what the black crystal was. Wang Yu's face darkened as he clenched his fists and asked, "Little friend, what did you say?" To place one's pride's face turned cold as he shouted, "I said I'm an idiot. It's none of your business." Everyone was speechless. Wuji then explained, "The black crystal is a type of ore that can be used to extract additional attributes from equipment. Equipment had always been of utmost importance in online games, so equipment forging became one of the most important skills for players. As a pioneering game, Rebirth was also very attentive to the design of sub-professions, drawing on the strengths of other professions. Other than the most basic smithing, enchantment, and embedding of gems, blacksmith players in Rebirth also had a special skill, which was recombination and refining of attributes. Recombination and refining, as the name suggested, was to find a medium to extract the attributes that players needed, then refine and recombine it into other equipment. The black crystal was a medium for extracting attributes from equipment. This was something that players could only play in the later stages of the game when they were at max level, and most people could not afford to play with it. One had to know that recombination and refining was a special skill that only Grandmaster blacksmiths had. Nowadays, there were very few advanced blacksmiths, not to mention Grandmasters. This was also the main reason why blacksmith players in the game would try their best to level up even though they knew that blacksmith skills were higher than profession levels. After all, only with a high enough level could all the blacksmith skills be calculated. Of course, Grandmaster Blacksmith Wang Yu was one of them, so Chunxiang did not have to look for someone else. "I see." After Wuji finished speaking, Wang Yu touched his chin and said, "I've never heard of this thing before. It must be very rare." When Wang Yu's words came out, Chunxiang, who was originally extremely excited, immediately wilted as if someone had poured a bucket of cold water on him. Wang Yu was right. The refining materials were not too bad. It was nothing more than rare ores, such as high-purity mystic stone water, copper essence, iron kirin wood, and so on. These things were a little expensive, but Chunxiang had a lot of gold coins on hand, so he could afford it. However, the black crystal was something that only existed in legends. Just as Wang Yu had said, ordinary players had never even heard of such an item, let alone look for it. It was definitely something that could not be bought even if one had the money. The reason why most people couldn't afford to reassemble equipment was mainly because of the materials. It was really expensive. Otherwise, people would say that the number one scammer in the online gaming world was making equipment. Fortunately, although Wang Yu didn't know much about materials, he had a brother who specialized in the materials business. Seeing Chunxiang's miserable appearance, Wang Yu smiled and patted his chest. "Brother Chun, don't panic. I can ask around for the materials for you." As he said that, Wang Yu pulled out his friend's list and sent a message to evildoers run wild. "Are you there? Are you there? If you have something to say, just say it." Replying in an instant was the greatest form of respect. It could be seen that although evildoers run wild wasn't polite with his words, he still respected Wang Yu very much. "Do you have the refining materials? Do you have the refining materials?" Wang Yu asked again. This time, after a full 10 seconds, evildoers run wild replied. "What did you just ask?" "Asked if you have a refining materials," Wang Yu said. The sentence before, "Asked if you're there." "I'm not. Thank you." Evildoers run wild replied decisively. His words were filled with determination. "Hey!" Wang Yu glared and said angrily, "Do you want to get beaten up? Talk to me properly." "Big brother." Being threatened by Wang Yu, evildoers run wild broke down. "Can't we get someone else to mess with? Do you think refining materials are cabbages that can be found on the roadside? I'm telling you, there's none. Absolutely none." Fine. What are you yelling for?" Wang Yu scolded evildoers run wild angrily. Then he asked, "What about the black crystal? Do you have it?" This time, evildoers run wild was stunned for a full half a minute. Then he pleaded, "Big brother, let's talk about the refining materials." Wang Yu was speechless for a moment. He asked, How much are the refining materials? What do you mean, how much? Evildoers run wild replied. Refining materials can't be dug out from the mines. You have to go to the arena to exchange for them with competition points. I earn a few million per minute. I don't have the time to farm these things for you. Exchange for competition points. Wang Yu nodded thoughtfully. Then he asked, what about the black crystal? How do I get it? Evildoers run wild thought for a moment and said, I don't know the specifics. I think you have to complete a quest to get it. Let me tell you, this thing's attribute draw seems to be random. You have to be careful when you use it. Otherwise, you'll be crying if it's useless. Got it. Wang Yu closed the chat window. Damn, Chun Xiang's lousy staff only has one attribute. How random can it be? Then, seeing that Wang Yu, who was in a daze, suddenly came to life, Chun Xiang asked anxiously, how is it? Do you have the materials? I think I have to do a quest for the black crystal. Wang Yu then repeated what Evildoers Run Wild had said. Quest. Chun Xiang was confused. What quest? Wang Yu shook his head. I don't know about this. I'll do it next time. All right. Seeing that Wang Yu had no other choice, Chun Xiang could only nod helplessly. It couldn't be helped. The black crystal was really too rare. No matter how amazing Wang Yu was, he was not a GM. This kind of rare material wasn't something he could get just because he wanted to. Chun Xiang couldn't bring himself to make things difficult for others because of his own matters. After clearing the evil dragon's lair, Wang Yu reached level 60. After returning to Yu Huicheng, Wang Yu went straight to the alley in Hermits. After reaching level 60, players could learn the ultimate skills of their own class. The ultimate skill of the monk class was Shadow Chain Kick. Wang had already learned this skill. Due to the special characteristics of Wang Yu's martial artist class, Wang Yu could learn all the ultimate skills of the fighter class when he reached level 60. Therefore, apart from Shadow Chain Kick, Wang Yu could also learn the ultimate skill of the Qi Master, Condensed Aura, into weapons. However, ultimate skills couldn't be learned with just a few gold coins. If he wanted to learn Condensed Aura into weapons, Wang Yu still had to accept the ultimate skill quest from the class instructor. In the alley, Old Hermit wasn't completely drunk. Instead, he was leaning against the wall and basking in the sun. Not only was the old man sloppy, but there was also a broken bowl beside him. He looked exactly like a beggar. Resisting the urge to throw a few gold coins in a hermit's bowl, Wang Yu quickly walked up to Hermit and bowed. Teacher, shoo shoo shoo. Hermit didn't even raise his head. He waved his hand and chased him away. Don't block my sunbathing. Wang Yu was stunned for a moment. He took out a few gold coins and threw them in a hermit's bowl. Clang! As the gold coins entered the bowl, Hermit raised his head. Chapter 1175. So it's you. Hermit raised his wrinkled old face and squinted at Wang Yu. He then exclaimed, Your growth really surprises me. It's only been a while, and you're already known as an expert. Tell me, why did you come to find me this time? You flatter me, teacher. Wang Yu cupped his fists politely and recited his lines step by step. Your disciple has already mastered all the skills you've taught me. Even so, I still feel that my strength is lacking in the battle against the demons. I hope you can give me some pointers. Hee. Hermit sized up Wang Yu again and said, not bad. I can see that you're working hard, but I have nothing else to teach you. However, when I was traveling the continent, I created a skill. If you want to learn, I can teach you. I'm willing to learn. Wang Yu quickly replied. He had talked nonsense with this guy for so long just to learn this skill. Hermit nodded in satisfaction. He stroked his beard and said, You're worth teaching. You're worth teaching. Please give me some pointers, teacher. Wang Yu said again. Hermit stroked his beard and glanced at Wang Yu with a playful smile. This is my trump card. I won't easily teach it to others. Do you understand what I mean? Wang Yu was speechless. He wiped his sweat and said, I understand, I understand. How can I not understand? You're almost reaching into my pocket. How can I not understand? Then, Wang Yu took out 2 bottles of wine and placed them beside Hermit. Hermit saw this and said disdainfully, I'm different from those professional mentors who learn a little from me. You want to learn my skills with just 2 bottles of wine? You're looking down on me too much. Then, 3 bottles? Wang Yu pulled out another bottle and placed it on the ground. Wang Yu knew that NPCs were always greedy. No matter how much they were given, they would never complain about having too much. If he wanted to test their bottom line, he would have to do it bit by bit. Sure enough, seeing that Wang Yu only added one more bottle, Hermit immediately said unhappily, "Don't talk nonsense with me. At least 4 bottles." Wang Yu, it turned out that this old man's bottom line was so low. The morals of the world were deteriorating day by day, and people's hearts were no longer what they used to be. Not only was their kung fu miserable in real life, but they were also only worth 4 bottles of wine in the game. After paying the tuition fee, Hermit said with great satisfaction, "Not bad, young man. You are the smartest one among my students." "Oh, you have other students?" Wang Yu asked in surprise. "Nope, that's why you're the smartest," Hermit said in an annoying tone. Wang Yu swallowed a mouthful of blood and said, "Teacher, please teach me the skills first. Don't be in such a hurry." Hermit waved his hand and said, "After the last God and Demon War, my cultivation was mostly destroyed, so I can't use this skill for a long time. Teacher, your method of swindling wine is a bit too much." Hearing this, Wang Yu's mood immediately became bad. Although 4 bottles of wine wasn't expensive, he had begged here for half a day, and in the end, this old man said that he didn't know how to use it. Wasn't he playing with people? I already said, don't be in such a hurry. Hermit smiled slightly and said slowly, "Although I can't use it anymore, I recorded this skill back then. I believe that with your talent, you should be able to understand it." "What about the skill book?" Wang Yu asked again. "Well," Hermit thought for a moment and said, "During the God and Demon War, I lost the notebook to Commander Sheng Yali. After Sheng Yali fell, the notebook should have been left with her in the Divine Demon Fortress. If you can retrieve it, I can guide you in understanding the skill." As soon as Hermit finished speaking, Wang Yu received a system notification. System notification. You have triggered the class skill quest, Hermit's Lost Book, quest rank A. Do you accept? Yes. Wang Yu casually clicked to accept the quest. System notification. You have received the class skill quest, Hermit's Lost Book, quest rank A. Quest objective. Retrieve Hermit's Lost Book 0 to 1 from the Divine Demon Fortress. Quest reward. Level 60 ultimate skill of this class. Note, this is a solo quest, not a party. Divine Demon Fortress. After skimming through the quest content, Wang Yu couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Although no one had done a level 60 class skill quest at this stage, Wang Yu had heard from Wuji and the others that all the class quests for ordinary players weren't difficult. The main problem was that there were a lot of rings, and it was troublesome. But it was different for Wang Yu. Every time he looked at the quest content, he would collapse. Damn, the Divine Demon Fortress was a forbidden place in the game. It was filled with undying souls left behind from the God and Demon War. The lowest level was at least level 100, and it was much more dangerous than Dragon Island. Dragons were strong, but they had a good family planning, and the number of dragons was sparse. On the huge Dragon Island, Wang Yu couldn't even run into a few monsters. The God and Demon battlefield was different. It was the final battlefield of the God and Demon War. The tragedy of the battle was recorded in historical records, and the density of the monsters there was self-evident. With Wang Yu's current skills, it was more than enough to fight normal monsters that were 40 levels higher than him. But if he was surrounded by level 100 monsters, it would be difficult for him to fight them all. After all, this was a game, and the relationship between level and attributes was more intuitive. In the face of absolute attributes and numbers, Wang Yu could only run away like a rat. Of course, Rebirth was a game full of traps, but none of the traps led to a dead end. Since the system designed this seemingly impossible quest for players at level 60, then there must be a breakthrough point for this quest. Obviously, Hermit was that so-called breakthrough point. After thinking for a while, Wang Yu suddenly thought of something and asked, "Teacher, what's your relationship with Shang Yali?" "That woman." Hermit smiled bitterly and said, "She's the only person in the Temple of Light who gets along with me. What do you think of our relationship?" "Oh." Wang Yu nodded and curled his lips. "I heard that people in the Temple of Light have misophobia." I'm very doubtful that a beggar like you could have a good relationship with Xingyali. What do you know? Hermit said angrily. Back then, I was also a handsome man that charmed thousands of girls. Is that so? There's no proof. Wang Yu looked suspiciously at Hermit, who was so anxious that his face was red. His face was full of disbelief. Of course. Hermit's withered right hand reached into his pocket and fished out a cross necklace with trembling hands. He said proudly, "This cross was given to me by her." Seeing this, Wang Yu hurriedly used Detect, and the attributes of the cross appeared in front of Wang Yu. Holy Cross, quest item. Item description. The personal item of Xingyali, the commander of the Temple of Light's Crusaders. Seeing the attributes of the necklace, Wang Yu's eyes lit up. That's right, it seemed that the key to the quest was this thing. Chapter 1176. Rebirth's quest system had always been decipherable. The higher the level of the quest, the more secretive the clues would be. When a cunning NPC like Hermit accepted a quest, anything they said could be the key to the quest. This was especially true for a character's name like Xingyali. Sometimes, 80% of it was the key to the quest. As expected, Wang Yu casually tried to provoke Hermit into taking out a quest item related to Xingyali. "Teacher, can I have a look at this?" Wang Yu asked as he looked at the cross in Hermit's hand. Wang Yu understood that it was related to the relationship between a man and a woman, so he was too embarrassed to ask for it directly. However, if Hermit gave the necklace to Wang Yu, it was hard to say whether Wang Yu would turn around and run away. With such a shameless NPC, if Wang Yu acted like a gentleman, he would be an idiot. Hermit seemed to have seen through Wang Yu's thoughts. He coldly snorted and grabbed the necklace, asking disdainfully, "Little friend, have you ever been in a relationship? Do you know the subtle feelings between a man and a woman? This is something given to me by a girl." Back then, seeing that Hermit was about to start talking about his relationship history, Wang Yu hurriedly interrupted, "Name your price. How much is it for me?" 100 gold coins. Hermit called out without a second thought. Wang Yu fished out 100 gold coins and handed it over, saying, "Your feelings are really valuable." Hermit casually threw the necklace to Wang Yu and said, "What do you mean valuable? This thing is a quest item." Wang Yu heard this and said angrily, "You're not giving me the quest item?" Hee. Hermit raised a money pouch in his hand and waved it in front of Wang Yu's eyes, saying, "If I give it to you, how am I going to earn 100 gold coins? Also, your lousy provocation is really bad." Wang Yu, who was looked down upon by the NPC, resisted the urge to press Hermit to the ground and beat him up. He looked at Hermit with a complicated expression, sighed, and turned around to leave the alley. After all, Wang Yu was a grandmaster. It was not appropriate for him to be angry at this kind of data. It was getting late, but Wang Yu was not in a hurry to complete the quest. Instead, he went to Mu Zixian's store. With the reputation of Wang Yu and the Chuanjin sect, Mu Zixian's grocery store had always been very popular. Furthermore, there would never be any sudden incidents like reneging on a debt or finding fault with her. After all, everyone knew what kind of people Wang Yu and the Quanjin sect were. At this time, most of the players were asleep. Mu Zixian was preparing to close the shop. Seeing Wang Yu coming over, Mu Zixian was surprised and said, "Why are you here?" Hee. Wang Yu chuckled and went into the store, saying, "I have something to give to the lady boss." "Oh, what is it?" Mu Zixian asked without raising her head. They were an old married couple, yet they were still acting so mysteriously. It was really childish. "Look." Wang Yu took out a ring and showed it to Mu Zixian. "This is—" Mu Zixian's eyes lit up when she saw the ring. Then, she took the ring and said unhappily, "You have been married for a year. Why did you only think of giving me a ring now?" Even so, it was not hard to see the smile on Mu Zixian's face. She was very satisfied with the ring. Seeing Mu Zixian's satisfied look, Wang Yu felt sad. When they got married, they had nothing. The first time he gave Mu Zixian a ring was in the game. In today's money-oriented society, it was rare to see such a silly girl. Wang Yu smiled and displayed the attributes of the ring on her hand. Like a teenager, she said, "Yours is called Tong Sheng, and mine is called Tong Dai. Do you know that we live and die together? It refers to the two of us. Bah! Mu Zixin spat at Wang Yu and said, "What do you mean by die or die? Stop talking nonsense. Come and help me pack my things. We will go offline early later. I will make you braised pork today." Okay. Wang Yu chuckled and walked to the counter. The next day, after everyone completed the dungeon, Wang Yu went to Yu Huiqing's port. The demonic god fortress was located in Nifa's city. Wang Yu had been to Nifa's city once when he was level 20. That place was at the edge of the continent and was quite far away from Yu Huiqing. Moreover, the local players were very honest. If they liked it, they would rob it. If they didn't like it, they would fight. If they won, they would stand. If they lost, they would lie down. This simple and crude culture left a deep impression on Wang Yu. After a few hours of flight, the airship finally landed in Nifa City. As soon as he got off the airship, Wang Yu felt countless gazes following him. It couldn't be helped. With Wang Yu's exquisite equipment, even if others couldn't see its attributes, their special appearance couldn't be hidden even if they turned off the equipment's special effects. As expected of players from Nifa City, they didn't hide their desire for exquisite equipment at all. They were just short of pointing at Wang Yu's nose and saying, "Give me your equipment." It was better to avoid trouble. Wang Yu was here to complete a quest, not to fight. Naturally, he couldn't be bothered to cause trouble. As such, he turned left and right, planning to get rid of these people and then dress up again. However, Wang Yu underestimated the value of Nifa City. This was definitely a main city that lived up to its name. The streets were filled with robbers with bad intentions. Along the way, although Wang Yu had lost the group of people following him at the beginning, after one wave after another, the number of players following Wang Yu didn't decrease. Instead, it increased. What the F***CK? What was going on? Forget it. Seeing that there were more and more players behind him, Wang Yu didn't care anymore. He ignored these people and went straight to the Divine Fortress. After all, when the others knew that Wang Yu was going to the Divine Fortress, they definitely wouldn't follow him. However, before Wang Yu reached the city gate, he suddenly heard someone call out from behind, "Master, master, why are you here? Damn, why is this brat here?" Wang Yu couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. In the entire game, the only person who called him master was Demon Fungus. Wang Yu didn't want to pay attention to a brat like Demon Fungus. Hearing Demon Fungus' voice, Wang Yu simply lowered his head and pretended not to hear it. He buried his head and walked out. At that time, he heard Demon Fungus shout again, "You bunch of blind people, can't you see that my master's equipment is better than mine?" As soon as Demon Fungus finished speaking, Wang Yu immediately felt dozens of greedy gazes behind him. F***CK. Seeing Demon Fungus trick him, Wang Yu almost cursed it out loud. The ancient said that only women and villains were difficult to deal with. Wang Yu was quite unlucky. He actually met Demon Fungus today. Chapter 1177. F***CKU. Seeing that the people behind him had noticed him, Wang Yu wanted to strangle the little bastard devil fungus to death. In terms of fighting, Wang Yu naturally wasn't afraid of these robbers. However, Wang Yu was here to complete a quest, not to cause trouble. Wouldn't he become a street rat if he followed a group of people who were shouting about killing him? What a scandal. However, the tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. In the city of sin, having good equipment was a sin, and knowing the devil fungus was a sin. Sighing, Wang Yu helplessly turned around and saw the appearance of the group of people who called out to him. This group of robbers all had sinister expressions and were full of hostility. Looking at the dazzling glow of their equipment, it was obvious that this group of people were doing quite well in the city of sin. Otherwise, they wouldn't have dared to come out so openly. At this time, the devil fungus was being held in the air by two tall warriors. It was like a corgi being held by the back of its neck. When it saw Wang Yu looking over, it struggled to move its two short legs to hide its embarrassment. The person who called out to Wang Yu was the leader of the group of people. The mage looked up and down at Wang Yu and squinted his eyes. "Foreigner, do you know the rules here?" "Rules?" Wang Yu shook his head. He thought that the mage wanted him to pay the ransom. So he pointed at the devil fungus and explained, "I'm afraid you've got the wrong person. I don't even know this person." who knew that the people of the City of Sin were more like bandits than Wang Yu had imagined. The mage heard this and laughed disdainfully. Whether you know him or not has nothing to do with us. As the saying goes, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Your equipment is not bad. Do you want to take it off yourself, or do you want us to do it for you? I advise you to take it off yourself. After all, if we do it ourselves, you'll lose more than just your equipment. In Rebirth, other than red name players, the drop rate of normal players was not high. It was obvious that the mage wanted to take turns with Wang Yu. What was arrogance? What was arrogance? This was it. In a virtual world, even if there were no moral restraints, bullying others was still a heinous act. Let alone those large guilds that valued their reputation more than anything else. Even Xuanzhen would have to come up with an excuse if they wanted to scam someone. Yet these bastards actually dared to use such a simple and crude method to openly rob others. They even wanted to turn the tables on me at the slightest provocation. It seemed like the devil fungus was an example of being dragged to the resurrection point because it didn't obey. One was a martial artist. Although he didn't meddle in other people's business, his hatred for evil was still very serious. When he heard the sorcerer's words, Wang Yu's face darkened. He looked at the sorcerer and said, "I don't care what rules you have. I'm warning you. I'm only here for a mission. Don't provoke me." "Huh? What did you say?" The mage was obviously used to committing crimes in Nifa's city and had not seen much of the world. Hearing Wang Yu's words, he couldn't help but laugh in disdain. "In Nifa's city, you're the first person who dares to say such words to us feral wolves. Wild Wolf Group? Could it be that this sorcerer is the legendary Red Wolf?" When the sorcerer said this, the other players that had originally followed behind Wang Yu, wanting to take advantage of the situation, immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. The Wild Wolf Group was currently the most vicious group of robbers in Nifa City. Not only to outsiders, but to the natives of Nifa's city, they were also an extremely terrifying existence. After all, Nifa's city was like a breeding ground for insects. Groups of robbers were insects. To be able to stand out among these robbers, the strength of the king of venomous worms was self-evident. The reason why no one recognized the identity of this group of people wasn't because Nifa's city was too big and players didn't know each other. Rather, it was because the Wild Wolf Group was incomparably vicious. Killing people was a common occurrence. The equipment of these robbers was quite good. If they encountered the Wild Wolf Group, they would have long since been robbed clean. They would have either deleted their account from the game or fled far away. Thus, it was normal for the players that remained in Nifa's city not to recognize them. In this environment where the big fish ate the small fish, when normal people saw the top predators, they would naturally flee far away. When the robbers that followed behind Wang Yu found out that the people in front of them were the legendary fierce bandits, they didn't say another word and turn around to leave this place of trouble. The nearby players dispersed like a receding tide. Wang Yu naturally felt this, and it wasn't hard to guess that the strength of this group of people wasn't ordinary. Of course, no matter how extraordinary they were, it was only in the eyes of others. In Wang Yu's eyes, there was no such concept. When he heard the name of the Wild Wolf Group, he felt that this group's name was very vulgar and their taste was very low. "Umph." Wang Yu coldly laughed. He glanced at Red Wolf and said, "The Wild Wolf Group, right? I got it. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving." After saying this, Wang Yu didn't waste any more words with this group of people. He turned around and left. In truth, Red Wolf's group was about the same size as Xuanzhen's group. To put it nicely, they were a small group. To put it bluntly, they were just a group of bandits. With Wang Yu's top-tier equipment, her identity was already very suspicious. Now that she had heard the feral wolf team's name and the disdainful expression on her face, Red Wolf became even more uncertain. He even thought that Wang Yu was an expert from some large guild. However, no matter how good an expert was, he was only one person. Red Wolf naturally wouldn't let go of the equipment he had obtained. "You want to leave?" At this moment, Red Wolf raised his staff and condensed an icicle in front of him. He aimed it at Wang Yu's back and threw it at him. Wang Yu didn't even turn his head. He casually swung his hand behind him, and a chi wave shot out, smashing the icicle into a cloud of blue mist. So it's a Chi master. Seeing Wang Yu's class, Red Wolf's eyes narrowed slightly and revealed a proud smile. Fighters were an unpopular class. Even among large guilds, there were very few of them. As for Chi masters, they were an even more unpopular branch of the class. Martial monks with vitality could also be used as a secondary tank to resist monsters. Chi masters' attack range was similar to that of warriors, but their attack power was inferior to that of mages. Big guilds had always rejected this class when they saw it. Originally, Red Wolf was quite afraid of Wang Yu's identity. Now that he had probed Wang Yu's class, his original fear suddenly disappeared. Then, Red Wolf ordered his subordinates, "This grandson is putting on an act. Everyone kill him." Following Red Wolf's order, the players behind him took out their weapons and attacked Wang Yu. Running at the front were two assassins. These two assassins had range classes covering them, and their opponent was a trash class like Chi Masters. They didn't even put Wang Yu in their eyes. They didn't even use stealth. They activated swift movement and instantly rushed in front of Wang Yu, raised their daggers, and stabbed. Faced with such a group of people who didn't know life from death, Wang Yu naturally wouldn't indulge them. Seeing the daggers stabbing at him, Wang Yu calmly took a step back. At the same time, his hands suddenly stretched out. Chapter 1178. Rise. Following Wang Yu's shout, the two assassins were involuntarily sent flying backward. Then there were two soft sounds. The assassins who were floating in the air blocked the arrows shot by the players behind Wang Yu. Even the shield bearers, who were known for their defense, had a hard time withstanding Wang Yu's attacks, let alone the two assassins. Although Wang Yu had controlled her strength, the two assassins were still beaten to a pulp. At this moment, one of them was hit by an arrow and instantly turned into a ball of white light. Seeing Wang Yu kill the two assassins with a raise of his hand, Red Wolf was overjoyed. Meow! He can even kill a Grandmaster of Combat in an instant. How good is this guy's equipment? I'm going to be rich. It had to be said that when people are greedy, they lose their rationality. At this time, Red Wolf still did not realize that the Grandmaster of Combat in front of him was different from other Grandmasters of Combat, and he was still thinking about Wang Yu's equipment. Without waiting for the assassin's white light to dissipate, Wang Yu followed closely behind, activated Collapsing Fist, and rushed in front of Red Wolf. Wang Yu's sudden appearance surprised Red Wolf, and he hurriedly flashed to the back of the team. As a mage's life-saving skill, Flash was quite practical, and it was now not rare among mage players. After flashing to the back of the team, Red Wolf condensed a spell and shouted to the two warriors in front of him who were holding the devil fungus, "Banana Wolf, Big Gray, go." Hearing this, the two warriors looked at the devil fungus awkwardly and said, "What do we do with this guy?" Although the equipment on the devil fungus was not as good as Wang Yu's, it was still of the highest grade. For the two of them to give up a fish that was already in their hands and insist on catching a difficult fish, they were a little hesitant. Red Wolf decisively said, "Throw her away. That Grandmaster of Combat is the big fish." Banana Wolf and Big Gray were speechless for a moment, and then casually threw the devil fungus behind them. Then, one of them raised a shield in front, and the other raised a sword behind. They aimed at Wang Yu and collided head-on. Weapon Warrior plus Shield Warrior combination was the basic configuration of a team. Its purpose was to complement each other and have both offense and defense. From their teamwork, it was not difficult to see that the Wild Wolf Regiment was not an undeserved reputation. The two of them worked together quite well. However, a warrior's charge had a fixed distance, and any expert would not be easily hit. Wang Yu was no exception. Seeing the two charging at him, Wang Yu smiled and lightly jumped back a little. The two collided with each other half a meter in front of Wang Yu. After the collision stopped, the shield warrior Jiao Tai Lang extended his left hand and raised his middle finger. He taunted Wang Yu loudly, "Grandson." Wang Yu's body was uncontrollably pulled to Banana Wolf's side. At the same time, Big Gray swung his sword and activated Whirlwind Slash at Wang Yu. At the same time, Red Wolf and the others' attacks landed on Wang Yu's body. However, just when they thought that Wang Yu was about to be crippled, they heard a bang, and Wang Yu exploded. Aya! Banana Wolf and Big Gray were stunned by the explosion, and then they shouted, "Oh no, it's a doppelganger!" As they spoke, the two of them turned around and quickly stood back to prevent Wang Yu from sneaking an attack. This level of tacit understanding was quite high. However, just as they steadied themselves, they heard Wang Yu's voice coming from above them. "Look at where you were standing. I really can't help but kick you too." As he spoke, Wang Yu descended from the sky with thunder step and kicked the two of them in the head. Boom! Wang Yu landed on the ground, and Big Gray turned into a white light and disappeared. As a shield warrior, Banana Wolfskin was thicker, and he still had some HP left. He shouted in fear, "Milk!" Before he could say the words, "Milk me," Wang Yu chopped Banana Wolf's neck with a karate chop, and Banana Wolf also turned into a light and disappeared. F***CK. The team of 10 people was reduced by nearly half in an instant. Red Wolf finally felt that something was wrong. Damn it. He had never seen a grandmaster of combat so ferocious. An outsider, 1 against 10. Could it be? Thinking of this, Red Wolf was shocked and hurriedly shouted, "We surrender! We surrender!" Wang Yu had a kind and benevolent personality. He had always been amenable to coaxing, but not coercion. Seeing that Red Wolf had surrendered, Wang Yu forcibly stopped his fist that was about to hit Red Lotus's head. Red Wolf, who had just escaped from the gates of hell, heaved a long sigh of relief and asked in shock, "May I know your name?" "Your Excellency." "Well said." Wang Yu cupped his fists and said, "Iron Ox." Gulp. Knowing that Wang Yu was indeed the legendary expert, Red Wolf swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said, So it's Ox God. I'm really sorry. Our brothers were blind and robbed the wrong person. Robbed the wrong person. These were Red Wolf's words of surrender, but in Wang Yu's ears, it was especially piercing. Wang Yu frowned and asked, "Are you saying that other people should rob?" "Hey!" Seeing Wang Yu's attitude, Red Wolf grinned cheekily and said, "Nyo go. What are you talking about? I know your Chuanjin style. We are actually the same kind of people. We are just trying to make a living." Nonsense. Seeing that Red Wolf shamelessly tied his actions to Chuanjin, Wang Yu was immediately unhappy. Chuanjin had always only robbed ownerless items like bosses. Red Wolf and the others used force to forcefully rob other people's items. Although they were both robbing, the nature was far different. Even though Chuanjin had also robbed others, that was because others had taken the initiative to provoke Chuanjin first. It was completely different from people like Red Wolf, who took the initiative to provoke others. "Don't call me brother." Wang Yu glared at Red Wolf disdainfully and said, "I want to do a mission now, so I can't be bothered to argue with you. Next time I see you robbing, don't blame me for being rude." After saying that, Wang Yu ignored Red Wolf and left angrily with a flick of his sleeves. Looking at Wang Yu's receding figure, Red Wolf's smiling eyes revealed a trace of ruthlessness. He cursed angrily, "Damn it, you really think you're a Horn character. I gave you face, but you don't want it." After being scolded with a smile, no one would feel comfortable. Not only did Red Wolf feel displeased, but the others beside him also felt resentful. They all asked unhappily, "Old Red, how can we endure this?" "I'll tolerate it. Everyone, follow me." Red Wolf spat in the direction Wang Yu left, turned around, and left with his people. Although Wang Yu did not look back along the way, he could feel the murderous intent of Red Wolf and the others. However, for Wang Yu, it did not matter. Anyway, he was going to the Divine Demon Fortress in a while. This group of scum only had one team, so it was impossible for them to follow and cause trouble. After walking out of the city of Sin's Gate, Wang Yu pulled out a map to confirm his location. Just as he was about to continue on his way, he heard a nightmarish voice behind him. Master, where are you going?" At the same time, the Demon King Fungus ran all the way to Wang Yu. "Damn it!" Wang Yu held his forehead and asked, "Are you crazy? Why are you following me?" Chapter 1179. Although Wang Yu had a gentle personality, he was not someone without a temper. Disregarding everything else, Wang Yu was a little displeased with the way Demon King Fungus had tricked her just now. If not for the fact that Demon King Fungus was a child, and that the Quan Jun sect had just reconciled with the whole world of Windcloud, Wang Yu would have sent her to the resurrection point to report. Who would have thought that not only did this brat not take advantage of the chaos to run away, he even chased after them. Wang Yu's mind was on the verge of collapsing. I'm not following you. Demon King Fungus laughed. Sinful City doesn't belong to you. Why can't you let me walk through the city gate? This child was quite eloquent. However, Sinful City did not belong to Yu Huichen. Wang Yu did not have the final say and could not control others. Hence, Wang Yu rolled his eyes at Demon King Fungus and said, "Then you go first. I'll leave later." "Don't," Demon King Fungus quickly said. "Master, are you here for a quest?" "Yes." Wang Yu nodded. "What quest?" Demon King Fungus asked again. "It's none of your business," Wang Yu said in an unfriendly tone. The difficulty of Wang Yu's mission was extremely high. Even the people of the Quan Jun sect might not be able to intervene, not to mention a brat like the Devil King Fungus, who was incapable of accomplishing anything but was good at spoiling things. Demon King Fungus did not mind Wang Yu's tone. She shook her head and said, "I have a quest too. Let's see if it's on the way." "Oh." Wang Yu was slightly stunned when he heard Demon King Fungus. He then asked curiously, "What quest do you have?" Wang Yu was not familiar with Demon King Fungus. However, he knew Windy World's character. Since they were siblings, their personalities should not be too different. This girl might have gotten herself some strange things again. Although Wang Yu wasn't like the people from the Quan Jin sect who liked to take advantage of others, he would still be happy if he could get rich in passing. A chain quest. Demon King Fungus laughed. F***CK. Hearing the Devil Fungus's words, Wang Yu almost fell to the ground. Meow. I thought it was some big mission, but it turns out it's just running around. Chain quests were the simplest chain of quests in the game. They usually involved finding chickens, ducks, and children for NPCs, delivering letters, gifts, and changing skin, harmony, strips. Although the quests were trivial, they required players to run all over the place. Moreover, each quest required at most 100 or at least a few dozen. It was extremely troublesome. However, it wasn't easy to complete over 100 small quests in one go. The rewards were quite generous. Apart from the rich experience rewards, many of the rare materials on the market came from running quests. It was the favorite of low-end players who didn't like fighting monsters. Of course, masters like Wang Yu, who regarded time as important as life, disdained such a complicated and time-consuming thing. He didn't expect a rich person like Devil King Mushroom to have such a special hobby. Since you're so rich, you can get whatever you want. Why are you running rings? Seeing that Devil King Mushroom's hobby was so refined, Wang Yu's impression of this girl changed a lot. There were many players who were so rich and worked hard to run rings. Yes, Devil King Mushroom sighed. It's because I have everything that I'm running rings. Wang Yu was stunned again. Damn, ordinary players ran rings because they didn't have what they wanted. They couldn't beat monsters, so they could only waste time running rings to make a living. Devil King Mushroom, on the other hand, ran rings just to kill time. This was F***King's social class. You're amazing. Wang Yu gave Devil King Mushroom a thumbs up and said, "Okay, you run rings, and I'll do my quest. Let's mind our own business. Let's part ways here." With that said, Wang Yu was about to leave, but Devil King Mushroom shouted, "Don't, I'm at the last round of this 250-round quest. Can you help me?" "No." Wang Yu shook his head decisively. Wang Yu wasn't good at running rings. "Master," Devil King Mushroom started to make a scene. That's right, it was making a scene. Other girls would act coquettishly when they asked for help, but Devil King Mushroom was really creative. Seeing this, Wang Yu had wanted to leave in a huff. This was the entrance to Sin City. With so many people coming and going, it would be very lively. Now that the Demon King Fungus had appeared, Wang Yu was once again surrounded by Sin City's players, becoming everyone's focus. In Sinner City, being the focus wasn't a good thing. So Wang Yu kicked Devil King Mushroom awkwardly and said angrily, "Don't call me that. Who the F***CK is your master?" If you help me with the quest, I won't call you master. Devil King Mushroom lied on the ground and said. Not to mention, this little thing looked harmless. Rolling around on the ground could gain everyone's sympathy. Even Wang Yu was a little embarrassed. Since it was the last round, it wouldn't take long to help her. If he could really get rid of this girl, it wasn't like he couldn't help her once. Thinking of this, Wang Yu picked up Devil King Mushroom and said, "Let's talk this out. Don't embarrass yourself." Devil King Mushroom was surprised and said, "Master, you agree? If you call me master again, I'm leaving." Wang Yu glared. "Yes, master." Devil King Mushroom pulled Wang Yu and nodded. "You know your place." Wang Yu shook off Devil King Mushroom and said, "I can help you, but you know how much Shu Engine charges. Tell me, how much gold?" Devil King Mushroom asked. Hee hee. Wang Yu smiled and said, "Don't forget where your gold comes from." "Then what do you want?" Devil King Mushroom said, "I have nothing but money." This is the sorrow of the rich. Wang Yu thought for a moment and said, "I haven't thought of it yet, but I'll talk about it when I think of it." "Aren't you afraid that I won't pay?" Devil King Mushroom asked jokingly. Yes, Devil King Mushroom was joking, but it wasn't a joke in Wang Yu's ears. With Devil King Mushroom's reminder, Wang Yu also remembered that Devil King Mushroom had a previous record, so he opened the contract system, tore it off, and handed it to Devil King Mushroom. "Sign it." Devil King Mushroom saw that Wang Yu really wanted him to sign the contract, and he was unhappy. "You don't believe me?" "Nonsense. If you don't sign, then I won't help." Wang Yu looked determined. "Humph." Devil King Mushroom stomped his feet angrily, grabbed Wang Yu's contract, and signed his name. "That's right." Wang Yu asked with satisfaction, "Tell me, what mission do you have?" Devil King Mushroom opened the mission and clicked share. At this time, Wang Yu received a prompt. Loop 250 mission. Go to Mythical Fortress to find Light Emissary Leon. Mythical Fortress? Seeing the mission description, Wang Yu finally understood why Devil King Mushroom needed his help to do a loop-running mission. Indeed, Devil King Mushroom's mission was just to deliver a message, which meant that the mission target was out of reach. Chapter 1180. The Divine Fortress. Since he had to go there anyway, it was not impossible to bring the Demon King Fungus along the way. Although Wang Yu did not know what was going on in the Demonic God Fortress and how many monsters there were, it did not matter. At most, she would throw the Demon King Fungus out if she could not hold on. Anyway, she did not receive any benefits from the Demon King Fungus. Helping her was out of kindness, but not helping her was her duty. "Let's go." After opening the map and confirming the coordinates, Wang Yu set off in the direction of the Divine Fortress with the Demon King Fungus. However, the Demon King Fungus shouted from behind, "Where are you going?" "Nonsense." Wang Yu pointed in the direction of the Divine Battlefield and said, "Of course I'm going to the Divine Fortress." The Demon King Fungus was stunned, then said in surprise, "That's the Divine Battlefield." "I know." Wang Yu said, "Isn't the Divine Fortress at the end of the Divine Battlefield?" F***CK. There are so many monsters. How long do you have to walk? The Demon King Fungus's body swayed. He suddenly felt that he had entrusted his quest to the wrong person. The Divine Battlefield was the battlefield between the Light faction and the Dark faction. Not only were there many monsters, but they were also humanoid monsters. They were very difficult to deal with, and the high-level monsters were very powerful. Not to mention outsiders who did not understand the situation here. Even the locals of the city of Nifas were only at the periphery. They did not dare to casually go to the Divine Battlefield to farm achievements. Wang Yu actually wanted to bring the Demon King Fungus across the Divine Battlefield. It was hard for the Demon King Fungus to believe that not only did this guy not die, but he was also doing well in the game. Could it be that the more daring a person was, the more productive he would be? Then how do you think we should go? Wang Yu could not help but ask when he heard the Demon King Fungus. In the game, the one with the bigger fist always had the right to speak. The Demon King Fungus dared to question Wang Yu's route, so he must have a better idea. As expected, when Wang Yu asked him, the Demon King Fungus chuckled and said proudly, "You've asked the right person. The NPC in the previous round of the quest really gave me a shortcut. If it weren't for the Divine Demon Fortress being too famous, I would have entered it long ago. Shortcut? There are shortcuts on a battlefield? Wang Yu was even more puzzled. It had been a long time since the era of cold weapons. Modern people knew very little about cold weapons. However, Wang Yu and Wuji had been hanging around for so long, so he had learned some things. This kind of battlefield that seemed like a great battle was mostly empty. How could there be any shortcuts to speak of? Yes, follow me. With that, the Devil King Fungus walked in another direction. Wang Yu hesitated for a moment before following it. The two did not walk for long before they arrived at the periphery of the god-demon battlefield. They found a small path in an extremely remote corner. The path was only about 2 meters wide. It was very inconspicuous on the vast, god-fiend battlefield. On both sides of the road, there was a row of pillars that were more than a meter tall. The shape of the pillars was very strange, but Wang Yu was no stranger to them. They were the magic stone pillars on the mage towers of the main cities. At the intersection, there was a stone with the words Grain Road written on it. Seeing the words on the stone, Wang Yu had a sudden realization. In the era of cold weapons, wars were fought with soldiers and provisions. The god-demon fortress was located in the deepest part of the god-demon battlefield in Nifa City. Naturally, they had to pass through the god-demon battlefield. It seemed that this grain road was specially created by the light faction's mages to ensure that their soldiers and provisions could keep up with the consumption of war. Damn, these magic stone pillars were very expensive. There were only a few dozen of them in a main city. Now, they were used to maintain the grain road barrier. War was really a machine that wasted money. Wang Yu tried to enter the grain road. However, just as he got close, he was repelled by a magical force. The Devil King Fungus saw Wang Yu's sorry state and laughed. You can't enter without the key. At that time, the Devil King Fungus took out 2 green gems and embedded them into the 2 magic stone pillars at the entrance of the grain road. The 2 magic stone pillars shone brightly. All the magic stone pillars were activated at the same time. Then, a whirlpool appeared at the entrance of the grain road. The Devil King Fungus jumped into the whirlpool and appeared on the grain road in the next moment. Interesting. Wang Yu pondered and rubbed his chin, then jumped in. After entering the grain road, Wang Yu asked the Devil King Fungus curiously, "Why do you have the key?" "The quest gave it to me," the Devil King Fungus replied casually. "Huh." Wang Yu was surprised and laughed. "I didn't think you would be so useless." The Devil King Fungus was speechless. No matter what, he was still an expert. In Wang Yu's eyes, he was just a piece of trash that was waiting to die. Damn it. After entering the grain road, everything became a lot simpler. With the support of the magic barrier, the countless monsters on the divine battlefield could not get close to Wang Yu and the Devil King Fungus. The two of them only took 20 minutes to travel from the divine battlefield to the divine fortress, which saved a lot of time. However, at this time, a quest appeared on the City of Sin's bounty notice and the Mercenary Hall. The quest content was very simple. Kill player, Iron Ox. Every kill will earn you 1,000 gold coins. Note, this person has exquisite equipment and is extremely dangerous. Everyone should be careful. Publisher, Anonymous. Everyone knew that the City of Sin was a typical example of a barren land. Without 7 or 8 enemies, players would be embarrassed to greet people. If there was hatred, there would naturally be a business of helping people take revenge. Therefore, there were countless people waiting for quests on the City of Sin's bounty notice and the Mercenary Hall. When the notice to kill Iron Ox was posted, it immediately attracted everyone's attention. The name Iron Ox had some fame in Rebirth. A month ago, he had some fame even in a remote place like the City of Sin. Fame in the game came quickly, but it also disappeared quickly. Chuanjin had been quiet for more than a month, and the name Iron Ox had gone from being a bit famous to being heard of. However, the more he had heard of it, the more likely it was that he had heard of it. After all, if the target was too famous, normal players would definitely think twice about their own skill. Without fame, players would doubt the authenticity of the notice. Wasn't everyone here waiting for quests just to drop equipment? Was it really just for a few gold coins? Legends were always exaggerated. Those who hadn't seen Wang Yu's true strength didn't dare believe that there was a player who could fight against 10,000 people. Therefore, in the eyes of the City of Sin's players, Wang Yu was just a normal expert with a bit of fame. No matter how amazing he was at most a passerby king. He couldn't compare to a pro-level god. These kinds of passerby experts who were famous at the beginning but later disappeared were mostly people who had some exquisite equipment and were popular for a while. As for their strength, they were just SOSO. Chapter 1181. Because of this, after seeing Iron Ox's ID on the bounty notice, Sin City's experts, who had been quietly making a fortune, were all on high alert. Red Wolf and his group obviously knew what the players of Sin City were like. It wasn't hard to see that Red Wolf didn't have any good intentions when he asked Wang Yu's name. In the game, having a name was equivalent to having all the information on the target. After accepting the bounty, the first thing the experts of Sin City did was to make a wish to locate Wang Yu's coordinates. However, when they found out Wang Yu's exact location, their initial enthusiasm disappeared. Damn, they didn't expect the target to be hiding in the Divine Fortress. As locals of Sin City, the players of Sin City knew better than anyone else how terrifying the Divine Fortress was. Although no one had entered it yet, the Divine Fortress was a famous forbidden place in the background story of the game. Sin City's desperados, who valued money more than their lives, didn't even dare to explore the Divine Battlefield at the outskirts of the fortress, let alone the Divine Fortress in the depths. When Red Wolf found Wang Yu's coordinates, he was also shocked. The Wild Wolf group also knew of Wang Yu's methods, but they didn't expect Wang Yu to be able to pass through the Divine Battlefield and enter the Divine Fortress. Seeing Wang Yu's strength, Banana Wolf and Big Gray, who had been killed by Wang Yu with a few punches and kicks, were not surprised. Instead, they exclaimed, "I told you that Iron Ox is very strong, but you didn't believe me. Now you have nothing to say, right?" It couldn't be helped. Warriors were the nemesis of grandmasters of combat. It was unbelievable that two fully armed warriors couldn't even last 3 rounds against Wang Yu. After Banana Wolf and Big Ray were killed by Wang Yu, they were looked down upon by their bad friends. At this moment, Wang Yu's performance made the two feel as if their grievances had been cleared. After all, their opponent was the first expert in history to pass through the Divine Battlefield and reach the Divine Fortress. Being killed by such a godly person could only be summed up in one sentence. It's not that I'm not strong enough, it's that my opponent is too strong. Tisk, Banana Tai Lang, and Old Jiao Tai Lang's actions of boosting the morale of others and belittling their own made everyone even more contemptuous of them. They couldn't help but say in disdain, "Big Gray and Old Jiao, these two idiots have been beaten silly. There are countless high-level humanoid monsters in the Divine Demon Battlefield. Our City of Sin only has a small team. That brat can't even hire anyone. So how can he traverse the Divine Demon Battlefield? Then how do you explain the coordinate problem? Could it be that the system is not as trustworthy as your imagination?" The two warriors shouted back, unwilling to be outdone. Both sides insisted on their own arguments. Just as they were about to start fighting, Red Wolf said angrily, "All right, stop arguing." Immediately after, Red Wolf pondered for a moment and said, "His reputation is not just for show. This Iron Ox must have some skill to be able to survive until now after causing so much trouble in the north. At the very least, those guys from Chuanjin are the real deal. However, just based on the fact that he is currently in the Demonic God Fortress, saying that he has the strength to cross the Demonic God Battlefield is a bit presumptuous." Then, Big Red, "What do you think is going on?" Banana Wolf and Big Red asked, somewhat unconvinced. "This." Red Wolf gnawed on his fingernails and said, "I don't think that guy would come all the way to our City of Sin for no reason. He should have some sort of mission. We were discussing that guy's strength. What does it have to do with what he wants to do?" Big Gray was puzzled. Red Wolf explained, "Since there is a mission, then he should have a special shortcut. If we look around the battlefield, we will definitely be able to find it." "What if they used a teleportation tool?" the others asked. "Are you stupid?" Red Wolf was speechless. If it was a teleportation tool, why would he need to fly all the way here? He could just teleport directly to their main city. Everyone, although the Demonic God Battlefield was huge, the food route was not far from the City of Sin city gate. Moreover, there were many people smarter than Red Wolf in the game. Everyone naturally guessed that the reason why Wang Yu could cross the demonic god battlefield was because he definitely had a special passage. Moreover, they were all locals, and they were very familiar with the surrounding environment. Finding a special passage would give them a great advantage. Very quickly, the players in the City of Sin discovered the existence of the food route. As the two gems of the demon fungus were still embedded at the entrance of the food route, the players in the City of Sin easily entered the food route. Wang Yu and Big Gray, who were in the demonic god fortress, did not realize that they had been targeted by countless villains. Of course, they did not have the time to think about this, because the monsters in the demonic god fortress were much scarier than the players. Just as the rumors said, the demonic god fortress was filled with the souls of the dead. It was not an exaggeration to say that the density of monsters was so high. Moreover, these monsters all had a threatening aura and looked very high-end. Looking at the densely packed monsters in front of him, Wang Yu could not help but use detection. Heroic Knight Soul, LV, HP, MP, Skills, Talents, Fallen Demon Soul, LV, HP. Without exception, all the monsters' names could be seen, but their levels and attributes were all question marks. Seeing the names meant that the monsters were within level 50, and it could be roughly inferred that these guys should be between level 90 to 110. Because they were rivals in life, the monsters did not stop after they died. At this time, these guys were attacking each other. It was not uncommon for monsters to fight for territory. The low-level monsters in Rebirth all had their own territorial awareness. At the border between two monster zones, monsters would usually fight each other. As for these high-level monsters, there was no need to talk about it. Wang Yu and Big Gray were in a corner and had not been discovered yet. However, with so many monsters blocking the way, Wang Yu did not dare to rashly attack. Although the monsters were fighting badly, these bastards would immediately put down their weapons and form an alliance when they saw a player, and then join forces to attack the enemy. This was the experience of the players who often wandered around the edge of the leveling area to pick up the leftovers. As the saying went, pull one hair and the whole body moves. With so many level 100-plus monsters clustered together, even Dragon Emperor Dallas would suffer grievous injuries. Naturally, Wang Yu wouldn't court death. As for Demon Fungus, seeing so many high-level monsters with question marks all over them, she was scared. She hid behind Wang Yu and said with a trembling voice, Big Brother Iron Ox, what do we do?" Wang Yu thought for a while, then put his hand to his eyes and looked into the distance. Then he turned back and said, "Stand here and don't move. I will lure them away later, and you continue forward." "Lure them away?" Demon Fungus swallowed and whispered, "I won't die, right?" These were all level 100 monsters, and they were so densely packed. Wang Yu was a short-handed grandmaster of combat, so luring monsters was definitely not his strength. No matter how strong Demon Fungus was, she was still a girl. In this kind of gloomy environment, if Wang Yu died, she would definitely not live alone. Chapter 1182. Die? That's impossible. Hearing this, Wang Yu smiled, and a pair of pure white wings extended from her back. Immediately after, Wang Yu leaped and flew into the sky. Too cunning. He can even fly. Devil Fungus could not help but mutter. In the current era, where flight was not widespread, being able to fly in the sky was definitely a huge advantage. In terms of attracting monsters, no matter how fast you ran, it was not as easy as flying. After all, monsters could not chase you into the sky, right? While Devil Fungus was stunned, Wang Yu flew directly above the monsters. Then he took out his gun and fired several shots at the monsters below. Bang, bang, bang. As the gunshots fell, the aggro of the monsters on the ground was activated one by one. Immediately, they were all attracted to Wang Yu. "Come after me." Wang Yu smiled proudly. He circled above the monsters as if to provoke them, then turned around and was about to lead the monsters in another direction. However, at this moment, a shocking scene happened. The monsters on the ground looked at Wang Yu, who was flying in the sky, and provoking them. Whoosh! With the sound of wings flapping, all the monsters stretched out their wings. Then, like a swarm of bees fighting for food, the monsters flew in the direction of Wang Yu at an extremely fast speed. In an instant, the monsters covered the sky, and the sky was filled with black and white wings. Damn! Seeing the silly monsters on the ground suddenly grow wings, Wang Yu, who had never panicked even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him, was shocked. He hurriedly flapped his wings and tried to fly higher. However, these monsters were all level 100 monsters. They were born with wings, so they were much faster than Wang Yu's half-baked flight. Before Wang Yu could take off, the monsters had already flown to Wang Yu's side, instantly drowning him. At the same time, a white light flashed, and Wang Yu was beaten to a pulp by the monsters. However, Wang Yu's sacrifice wasn't of any use. After Wang Yu disappeared, the monsters in the sky started attacking each other again. This time, it was in the sky, which was much larger than the ground. The monsters' battle was even more intense than before. There was an old saying in China, "Birds die for food." It seemed that this saying was very reasonable for both birds and birdmen. On the ground, Devil King Mushroom saw that Wang Yu, who had been handsome for less than 10 seconds, was killed by the monsters. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She complained and cursed. F***, who asked you to be so pretentious? Go to hell and leave me alone in this gloomy place. The Demon King Fungus complained as it ran toward the exit of the Divine Demon Fortress. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind. Idiot, where are you going? Move forward. The Demon King Fungus heard the voice and quickly turned around. It saw Wang Yu standing not far away, waving his hand and waving at it. The Demon King Fungus was shocked. It hurriedly turned around and chased after Wang Yu. It was puzzled. Aren't you dead? Dead? Wang Yu was speechless. Haven't you seen a Grandmaster of Combat's doppelganger? The Demon King Fungus was speechless again. It turned out that in the nick of time, Wang Yu had thrown out a doppelganger and flashed away. No wonder there was a white light. Doppelganger was a skill that Grandmasters of Combat used to attract aggro and block damage. Therefore, Wang Yu's aggro was directly transferred to the doppelganger. At this time, Wang Yu's doppelganger had been broken, so the aggro naturally disappeared. The monsters returned to attacking each other again. Of course, this was all thanks to a legendary expert like Wang Yu. If it were any other player, faced with the simultaneous attack of so many monsters, even if they were all low-level monsters, they probably wouldn't be able to dodge in time. In any case, the monsters in front of the two had all been pulled into the sky by Wang Yu. Wang Yu and the Demon King Fungus tiptoed and continued to move forward stealthily under the monsters. The Divine Demon Fortress was a very large place. Of course, Wang Yu couldn't lure all the monsters into the sky at once. However, no matter how high the monsters' levels were, they were still normal monsters. Their AI was too low. They could only act on instinct. With the experience from before, the road ahead was much easier. Every time they encountered a monster, Wang Yu would first lure the monsters into the sky like before. Then, he would use his doppelganger to run away, and the monsters would change battlefield. Although luring the monsters was a daunting experience, the two of them didn't have specific coordinates. Finding an NPC in a book in such a large battlefield was a bit difficult. Helpless, the two of them could only search the place like a single-player game. The monsters in the place were also thrown into chaos by Wang Yu. Just like that, Wang Yu and the Demon King Fungus wandered aimlessly for who knew how long before they finally saw a dilapidated temple. System notice: you have discovered the Temple of Light. Obtained EXP. Holy SH *T. I finally found an NPC. Looking at the system notice, Wang Yu is speechless. Logically speaking, Wang Yu had played the game for a long time and suffered countless losses at the hands of NPCs. His impression of NPCs was very bad. This was the first time Wang Yu felt excited about seeing an NPC. In the blink of an eye, the two of them jogged all the way to the entrance of the temple. Just as they were about to enter, the entrance of the temple lit up with holy light, blocking the two of them outside. At the same time, a woman's voice rang in the ears of Wang Yu and the Demon King Fungus. Temple of Light. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed to enter. We are not unauthorized personnel. Wang Yu shouted according to the quest notice. I am a martial arts expert. I am here to find a lost skill of my mentor. Oh, martial arts expert? The voice hesitated for a moment. The holy light shone on Wang Yu, then said, You are a martial arts expert. Yes, but why should I believe you? Wang Yu hesitated for a moment, then took out the cross he bought from Hermit and said, This is something my mentor gave me. This? The voice trembled a bit, then said, Come in. As it spoke, a holy light surrounded Wang Yu. Thank you. Wang Yu politely cupped his fists at the temple and put away the cross. Wrapped in holy light, he walked into the temple without any obstruction. Seeing that, the Demon King Fungus followed behind Wang Yu and was about to enter, but at that moment, the holy light barrier at the entrance suddenly lit up. Immediately after, a dazzling holy light flew out from the depths of the temple and shot straight at the Demon King Fungus. Seeing that, Wang Yu raised his left hand and rubbed out an energy shield to block the holy light. Who knew that the power of the holy light was so strong that it directly shattered Wang Yu's chi wave shield. Wang Yu was shocked and dodged the holy light. The holy light's power did not decrease and continued to shoot towards the Devil King Fungus. Although Wang Yu's block did not cancel out the holy light, it bought some time for the Demon King Fungus. The Demon King Fungus took the opportunity to lower its head to dodge, and the holy light flew past the back of the Demon King Fungus's head. Aya. Chapter 1183. F***CK. Wang Yu's eyes widened when he saw this scene. All this while, the holy light magic that Wang Yu had seen was mainly for support, with attacks as a supplement. Thus, in Wang Yu's subconscious, holy magic was used for healing, and its attack power was extremely low. However, that ray of holy light directly changed Wang Yu's view of holy magic. Not to mention the fact that the holy light had been blocked by Wang Yu, causing its power to decrease significantly. What was even more terrifying was that the holy light had only brushed against the Demon King Fungus. If it had been a solid hit, the Demon King Fungus would have been sent home to be resurrected. No wonder in the background story of Rebirth, the divine light god was the most powerful. It made sense. At the same time, the female voice rang in the ears of Wang Yu and the Demon Fungus again. The voice was harsh. Humph. Dirty Demon Clan. You want to enter the Light Shrine? Demon Clan. Wang Yu was startled when he heard that. Only then did he remember that the Demon Fungus was actually from the Dark Faction. The Demon Fungus looked at Wang Yu with a face full of grievance. Following behind Wang Yu, the Demon Fungus also forgot its identity. That's not right. Why is a Demon Clan like you looking for the Light Emissary? At this time, Wang Yu suddenly remembered the Demon Fungus's mission and asked in confusion. Mission hint. How would I know? The Demon Fungus's doubts were no less than Wang Yu's. At that time, the female voice rang again. A ray of holy light hung above the Demon Fungus's head and asked, Light Emissary? Is it Leon? Yes. With a holy light on top of its head, the Demon Fungus's life was hanging by a thread. It did not dare not answer, so it nodded in fear. The voice pondered for a moment and said, Then you come in too. As the voice fell, the holy light also wrapped around the Demon Fungus. As the Demon Fungus was a player from the Dark Faction, the holy light had an offensive effect on the Demon Fungus. Under the burning of the holy light, the Demon Fungus's HP slowly decreased. The Demon Fungus hurriedly swallowed a bottle of potion to avoid being burned to death by the holy light. Under the guidance of the holy light, Wang Yu and the Devil King Fungus came to the inside of the lookout. At this moment, a woman clad in bright silver knight armor appeared before the two of them. The woman was very beautiful, but the deep scar on the left side of her face was very conspicuous. At this moment, the woman was kneeling on the ground with a broken sword in her hand. The pure white wings on her back were in a mess, and only one was left. She looked very miserable. It seemed that the holy light just now was emitted by this half-dead woman, as expected of a legendary NPC from a divine fortress. Despite being beaten to such a state, he was still so arrogant. Upon seeing the woman, Wang Yu subconsciously cast a detect spell on her. Unsurprisingly, the woman's name and attributes were all question marks. As if sensing Wang Yu's probing, the woman glanced at Wang Yu and said, "Are you that martial arts scholar?" "Yes." Wang Yu nodded. "Give me the cross." The woman raised a hand with difficulty and extended it towards Wang Yu. Wang Yu took a step back and shook his head. "What a joke. If I gave it to you just because you asked me to give it to you, wouldn't I be losing face? After all, none of the NPCs in the game were good people. If Wang Yu did not keep an eye on things, he would have been tricked to death 100 times by these bastards." Seeing that Wang Yu was a little reluctant, the woman slowly said, "I am Shunyali." Hee. Wang Yu laughed and imitated the woman's tone just now. "Why should I believe you? I am God's apostle. You dare doubt me?" Shunyali heard this, and a flash of anger flashed across her face. However, she still very tactfully displayed her attributes. God's Sword, Shunyali, level 200, God tier boss, epic, heavily injured, HP, 100000000 MP, 500000000 skills. Knight all-element proficiency, Warrior all-element proficiency, Holy Light magic proficiency. Talent, Oracle background introduction. Known as the God of Light Sword, Shunyali is the God of Light's most valued angel. During the descent of darkness, Shunyali led an army of angels and allied with human powerhouses to fight against the Nephilim at the divine demon fortress. Her whereabouts are unknown. Hiss. After seeing Shunyali's attributes, Devil Fungus sucked in a breath of cold air. A level 200 God tier boss was said to be the strongest creature on the surface. It seemed that he was purely lucky to have survived. Thinking of this, Devil Fungus could not help but pray. "Almighty demon god above, thank the Nephilim seniors for beating this woman up like this. Wang Yu, can you give me the thing in your hand now?" Shunyali asked Wang Yu. "Yes." Wang Yu nodded and walked up to Shunyali and placed the cross in her hand. Crack. As soon as the cross came into contact with Shunyali, it immediately shattered and turned into specks of holy light that seeped into Shunyali's body. Immediately afterward, the scars on Shunyali's face slowly disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. Shunyali stood up from the ground and took out a mirror from her bosom. She looked at her own face and rejoiced. "Fortunately, I store my divine power in this necklace, and my body was able to recover." After saying this, Shunyali turned to Wang Yu and said, "Young man, since the God of Light has guided you here, it seems that you are the one who can help me. You should be honored. System notification. You have triggered the class skill quest, Shunyali's help. Do you accept?" Wang Yu rubbed his nose speechlessly. "Honored? Damn, this woman is quite arrogant. She dares to use such a tone when asking for help. She's the person with the best temper in the Temple of Light? Then what about the other people in the Temple of Light?" Wang Yu's temper had always been one to respect others tenfold. Even though he knew that she was an NPC, hearing Shunyali's tone made Wang Yu a little unhappy. He asked in a bad mood, "You're a level 200 boss. Is there anything you can't solve yourself?" Sigh. Faced with Wang Yu's doubt, Shunyali shook her head and sighed. "Sigh. The divine power stored in the God necklace is limited. After restoring my face, the remaining divine power can only allow me to stand up. Now that my wings can't be repaired, I won't be able to regain my strength for a while." Then, Wang Yu asked curiously, "How much strength can you regain after restoring your face?" Shunyali said indifferently, "Appearance has nothing to do with strength." "Then why don't you restore your wings first?" Wang Yu was a little overwhelmed. Just which idiot designer designed this NPC? She can't even distinguish between priority and priority. However, Shunyali's next words convinced Wang Yu. "Because I'm a woman," Shunyali said. "You win." Wang Yu secretly spat out a mouthful of blood. He gave Shunyali a thumbs up and chose to accept the quest. Chapter 1184. System notification. You have accepted the profession skill quest, Sheng Yali's help. Quest level A. Quest details. Find and kill the fallen divine envoy Leon. Leon? This name looks a little familiar. Wang Yu was stunned when he saw the quest details. He then asked Demon King Fungus, "Isn't this Leon the Light Envoy? How did he become the fallen divine envoy?" Demon King Fungus shuddered when he heard this. He hurriedly said, "I don't know. Nyo Gu, you must be mistaken." Sheng Yali had always disliked Demon King Fungus from the Dark Faction. If Demon King Fungus admitted that the NPC he was looking for was the fallen divine envoy, he would be killed on the spot. As the saying goes, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. No matter how paralyzed Sheng Yali was, she was still a god-level boss. Demon King Fungus was no fool. He would definitely not admit it. Just as Demon King Fungus was trying to disassociate himself, Sheng Yali nodded and said, "You're right. It's that Leon." At the mention of Leon, Sheng Yali's originally pure and holy expression immediately became sinister and twisted. She gnashed her teeth and said, "Leon, that traitor, used my trust in him to betray God and betray justice. He turned the victory that was supposed to belong to God into this situation. Even I," Sheng Yali sighed and said, "even I was severely injured by him. I can't move. If it wasn't for the protection of the temple, I'm afraid I would have." All right. Hearing this, Wang Yu roughly understood the ins and outs of the story. In any case, it was the kind of trust and betrayal that couldn't be any more melodramatic. The female lead was Sheng Yali, and the male lead was naturally Leon. The hermit was probably just a side character in this story. Therefore, Wang Yu asked in a gossipy manner, "What is your relationship with Leon? Why do you trust him so much?" "Umph." Sheng Yali glared at Wang Yu and snorted coldly. "It's none of your business." From Sheng Yali's reaction, it wasn't hard to tell that hermit was really Cameo. No wonder that old man and Simba got along so well. They were the legendary spare tires. Wang Yu couldn't help but ask with a smirk, "Do you remember Hermit?" "What Hermit?" Sheng Yali was confused. "My teacher, the one you gave across to." Wang Yu said, "Oh." Sheng Yali suddenly understood. "It's that mortal. Is his name Hermit? What a strange name." Hearing Sheng Yali's reply, Wang Yu's heart suddenly thumped. It seemed like things weren't as simple as Hermit had made them out to be. Simba was a spare tire, but at least his name was remembered by the goddess, and he had a chance to work for her. Hermit, on the other hand, was a little pitiful. Sheng Yali couldn't even remember his name. Since Sheng Yali and Hermit were on the same side, there was an 80% chance that Sheng Yali wouldn't carry Hermit's manuscript around with her. Thinking of this, Wang Yu asked carefully, "Do you remember if that mortal gave you a manuscript?" "Manuscript? What manuscript?" Sheng Yali was still confused. "No manuscript?" Wang Yu narrowed his eyes and stared at Sheng Yali. "If you don't have a manuscript, what are you going to give us as a reward for helping you?" "Reward?" Sheng Yali was stunned. She then said with a disdainful look, "Are you a mortal who has been converted by the gods? It's your honor to help the gods, and you want a reward? Did I say I was going to give you a reward?" This. Wang Yu quickly opened the quest tab. As expected, there was no reward for the quest. F***CK. Seeing this, Wang Yu couldn't help but curse. Damn it, so this woman is trying to get something for nothing. Fortunately, I asked a few more questions, or I would have been tricked by the game designer without knowing it. It seems that I have to think twice before accepting a quest without a clear reward in the future. I didn't expect there to be a trap here. A crippled NPC with no reward, and yet she's so arrogant. Obviously, this woman wants to go to heaven. At this time, Wang Yu naturally wouldn't let her go. After thinking for a while, Wang Yu asked Sheng Yali, "Do you know where Leon is?" "He's in the Darkness Shrine." Sheng Yali said, "That traitor is also seriously injured and can only rely on the shrine for protection. The Darkness Shrine is directly west of the Brilliant Shrine." "I see." Wang Yu nodded and said, "I'm not a member of the Darkness Shrine. How can I gain his trust?" "You're not, but she is." Sheng Yali pointed at the devil fungus and said, "Ask her to help you kill Leon, and then bring his head back to me." "Her?" Wang Yu glanced at the devil fungus and said with a smile, "She can't." Not to mention whether the devil fungus had the ability to do so. Even if it did, the devil fungus was an outsider to Wang Yu's quest, so the key to this quest was definitely not the devil fungus. "Then what do you say?" Xingyali asked curiously. Wang Yu smiled and said calmly, "I heard a story when I was a child. An assassin named Jing Ku wanted to kill the king of Qin, and then to gain the king's trust, he found the king's enemy, Fan Yuqi, and borrowed something from him." "What thing?" "Fan Yuqi's head." "What?" Xingyali's expression changed. Before Xingyali could react, Wang Yu's figure flashed and appeared behind her. He put his fingers together and used them as a knife, stabbing into the broken wing on Xingyali's back. -2211154 Suddenly, a huge damage value jumped up above Xingyali's head. Wang Yu's guess was right. The heavily injured Xingyali was like a paper tiger. He aimed for a vital point and dealt 1,000,000 damage. Xingyali didn't expect Wang Yu to suddenly attack. Caught off guard, she picked up the broken sword on the ground and counterattacked. However, Xingyali was a half-crippled person who could barely move freely. Her speed and strength were far inferior to Wang Yu's. Wang Yu lowered his head and turned around. He turned in front of Xingyali, and with a flip of his hand, a dagger appeared in his hand. He stabbed it into Xingyali's throat. -5511245 Another damage value appeared. Xingyali's figure flashed, and she raised her hand. She began chanting and gathering magic. She still dared to chant a spell when a grandmaster of combat, like Wang Yu, got close to her. It seemed that Xingyali's brain had rusted. Seeing this, Wang Yu didn't say anything and stabbed the dagger into Xingyali's mouth. Xingyali's chanting stopped. It couldn't be helped. In her heavily injured state, Xingyali's attributes had greatly decreased. Wang Yu didn't know how high her magic damage was, but judging from her movements, she was at most a level 40 or level 50 boss. When Wang Yu was level 30, he could already bully a level 50 epic boss. Now that he was level 60, dealing with a cripple like Xingyali was a piece of cake. Chapter 1185. After Xingyali died, her head automatically turned into a box and fell to the ground. At this moment, Wang Yu also received a system notification. You have killed the Light Faction's commander, Xingyali. Light Faction reputation points, -200. Light Faction honor points, -200. You will be pursued by the Light Faction's allied forces in the Divine Demon Fortress. As expected, killing Xingyali was the correct way to complete this quest. Wang Yu was starting to suspect that Hermit's courtship had failed, so he had used someone else to do the dirty work. From this point, it could be seen that although Hermit's actions were extremely uncultured, he was much more decisive than Simba. He was already so old, yet he was still doing such things. Wang Yu did not know whether to laugh or cry as he walked forward, picked up Xingyali's head, and threw it into his backpack. At the same time, Demon King Fungus, who had been deceived the entire time, was dumbfounded when he saw that Wang Yu had really killed Xingyali. He pointed a trembling finger at Wang Yu and asked, "Why did you kill her?" Wang Yu said, "Because she's dead. That's the only way we can get close to Leon." Demon King Fungus shouted in shock. "That's not what I'm asking. What I mean is, she's a level 200 boss. Haven't you thought about the consequences?" "Consequences?" Wang Yu smiled and said, "Since she thinks that you can kill Leon, she can see that Leon is also on his last breath. She can't even beat an opponent on his last breath. How strong can she be?" This Demon King Fungus was speechless when he heard Wang Yu's explanation. Although he felt that something was wrong, he could not refute it. Could this be the way the world's #1 expert plays? It really is different. All right. Just as Demon King Fungus was feeling conflicted, Wang Yu suddenly said, "We should run now." "Run? What do you mean?" Demon King Fungus was still confused. When the two of them reached the entrance of the Tao God Shrine, Demon King Fungus finally realized that Wang Yu was in trouble. At this moment, the entrance of the temple was filled with monsters. These monsters were all wearing white armor. It was not difficult to tell that they were the undead souls of the Light Faction. They surrounded the temple. Not only that, but as far as the eye could see, there were countless white-armored souls surging over from all directions. Take care, I'm going to run first. Wang Yu shouted and activated his lightness skill. He left the devil fungus behind and ran towards the darkness shrine alone. Damn you! Seeing how disloyal Wang Yu was, Demon King Fungus stomped his feet in anger and quickly hid himself. Of course, at the level of the Demon King Fungus, its stealth technique could be easily seen by monsters. However, the monster's aggro was all on Wang Yu. No one cared about the devil fungus. After Wang Yu left, the monsters all chased after him. The devil fungus, who was lucky enough not to be gnawed to death by the monsters, secretly broke into a cold sweat and then shouted in the team channel, "Where are you? Where should I find you?" "To the west, where there are many black monsters." Wang Yu replied to the devil fungus while he was busy. The devil fungus looked around, then hid behind the monster army and quietly left the light shrine. Compared to the devil fungus, Wang Yu was in a more tragic situation. The density of monsters in the Divine Demon Fortress was far higher than in any other place. Even if half of the monsters in the Dark Faction were removed, there would still be an astronomical number of monsters chasing after Wang Yu. These monsters flew much faster than Wang Yu. Wang Yu did not even dare to fly. He only dared to use his faster lightness skill to escape. However, no matter how fast his Qin Gong was, he couldn't stop the monsters from surrounding him from all directions. Furthermore, Wang Yu's Qin Gong required him to run on the ground and was restricted by the terrain. What's worse was that there was a limit to his Qin Gong. Under the siege of countless level 100 monsters, Wang Yu ran all over the place. Wherever there were more monsters in the Dark Faction, he would run. However, these monsters from the Light Faction seemed to have locked onto Wang Yu. They did not care about their former enemies and only wanted to kill Wang Yu. Wang Yu did not have the slightest advantage against these monsters. As time passed, more and more monsters appeared behind Wang Yu. Just as Wang Yu's lightness skill was about to run out, a gloomy mouse suddenly crawled to Wang Yu's side. Squeak! The little mouse squeaked at Wang Yu and circled around Wang Yu. Then, it turned around and ran in another direction. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared. At that time, the monsters that were chasing after Wang Yu turned around and chased after him as if they were possessed. Looking at the monster leaving, Wang Yu was a little confused and stood rooted to the ground. At that moment, the voice of the Devil King Fungus came from not far away. "You have no sense of loyalty. I saved you once. You owe me a life. Do you understand? That mouse is yours." Wang Yu quickly turned around and asked curiously, "What is that?" "Clockwork mouse," the Devil King Fungus said unhappily. "It's a one-time item given by the quest. I've been running for so long, but I've only managed to save 2 of them. I can't bear to use them myself." As it spoke, the Devil King Fungus took out an identical mouse and waved it in front of Wang Yu's eyes. "Clockwork mouse, special item. Can divert the target's aggro elsewhere. If the aggro is not diverted to another target after 5 minutes, the attributes of the aggro monster will increase by 20%. Ha! Interesting. Wang Yu was surprised when he saw the attributes of the Clockwork Mouse. The attributes of this thing were too obscene. It could divert one's own aggro to others. It was simply a tool to cheat people. From the attribute enhancement effect, this thing was also a double-edged sword. Ordinary people would definitely use this thing cautiously. However, if it was in the hands of those be asterisk cheese from Chuanjin, TSK, the consequences would be unimaginable. No wonder the Devil King Fungus liked to run rings. It turned out that she could get so many strange items. "Well, I saved you once, and now I owe you a favor. We're even. We can be friends in the future." As he spoke, Wang Yu took the initiative to extend his hand, indicating that the hatred of the past was written off. The Devil King Fungus curled her lips and said, "Stingy, I thought you could help me for free this time." Having said that, the Devil King Fungus still extended her hand. The two of them smiled and settled the grudge. Wang Yu smiled and said, "Friends are friends. Business is business. At most, I'll give you a discount in the future. Let's go." Otherwise, when those monsters come back, we'll all die here. Okay. The Devil King Fungus nodded and followed behind Wang Yu all the way to the Darkness Shrine. 5 minutes was not long, but it was not short either. As Wang Yu had killed Shengyali, the souls of the Light faction had all gone after the Clockwork Mouse. The monsters of the Dark faction did not take the initiative to attack Wang Yu and the Devil King Fungus. Just like that, the two of them ran wildly and finally found the Darkness Shrine that Shengyali had mentioned before the souls of the Light faction came back. They quickly entered the Darkness Shrine. As the headquarters of the monsters of the Dark faction, the Darkness Shrine was naturally very safe. Looking at their pursuers outside the shrine, Wang Yu let out a long sigh of relief. Chapter 1186. Who are you? Why did you break into my darkness temple? The voice wasn't loud, but it was clearly heard by Wang Yu and Demon Fungus. The two of them quickly turned around and looked into the depths of the temple. They saw a man in black sitting in the center of the temple. The man in black was pale and his hair was messy. Although he looked dignified, he couldn't hide his sorry state. Wang Yu looked around and saw that there was no one else around. It wasn't hard to tell that the person who had just spoken was this man in black. The distance from the Divine Hall to the entrance of the Divine Hall, where Wang Yu and Shengyali were, was at least a dozen meters. The person's soft words had penetrated through the noise of the pursuers at the entrance of the Divine Hall and clearly reached the two's ears. It was obvious that the person's strength was not below Shengyali's. Needless to say, this person was undoubtedly the legendary Light Messenger Leon. Wang Yu was just about to step forward and ask, but before he could take a few steps, a black barrier suddenly appeared and blocked their way. At that time, Leon, who was in the temple, asked coldly, "Did you bring the Crusaders outside?" Wang was speechless. This game designer was sinister and cunning. It was fine if he played word games in his daily quests, but he didn't expect that there would be traps hidden in the NPC's dialogue. Leon's tone was hostile. If Wang Yu answered, "Yes," honestly, Leon would probably throw the two of them out of the temple without a second word. Fortunately, Wang Yu was a conservative NPC, and he had almost been tricked by Shengyali just now. Naturally, he was more cautious about everything. Hearing Leon's tone, Wang Yu replied in a tone that was neither servile nor overbearing. "These Crusaders are my pursuers." "Oh." Leon raised an eyebrow in the Divine Hall of Darkness. He asked again, "Why are they hunting you?" Because of this, Wang Yu took out the box containing Shengyali's head from his bag and threw it in Leon's direction. The box passed through the barrier and landed beside Leon. Leon was shocked. He didn't open the box, but asked curiously, "What is this?" "Shengyali's head. I killed her." Wang Yu cupped his fists and said, "Right now, we are being chased by the Crusaders. Please allow us to enter the temple and protect us." You kill Shengyali?" Leon looked at the box not far away in surprise, and then sighed, Good. I didn't expect you to be so capable at such a young age. Since you've helped me get rid of my greatest threat, then come in." As he spoke, a black light surrounded Wang Yu. Apart from the color, Leon's method was almost exactly the same as Shengyali's. Just as Wang Yu had expected, the key to this mission was the stepping stone to entering the two shrines. Needless to say, the cross given by Hermit was the key to entering the Temple of Light, and the key to entering the Temple of Darkness was Shengyali's head. Only someone like Wang Yu, who didn't play by the rules, would dare to fight a celestial boss like Shengyali. Based on Hermit's words at the beginning, no one would think that they had to kill Shengyali in order to complete this quest, let alone whether they would dare to fight a celestial boss like Shengyali. What did it mean to be dangerous? What did it mean to be well-intentioned? This time, Wang Yu had really seen it for herself. Seeing that Wang Yu had entered the temple, Demon King Fungus hurriedly shouted, "What about me? What about me? Who are you?" Leon heard the sound and noticed the Demon Fungus, so he asked after a pause. The Demon King Fungus hurriedly took out a letter from his bosom, raised it, and shouted, "The great elder of the Dark Council, Cervantes, asked me to give this to you." To put it bluntly, it was a mission to deliver a letter. This letter was the stepping stone for the Devil King Fungus. Cervantes? I haven't seen him for a long time. You come in too. Saying this, Demon King Fungus was also put into the temple. After the two entered the temple, Wang Yu gave Demon King Fungus a look and whispered, "You go submit the mission first." Demon King Fungus didn't understand what Wang Yu meant, but since Wang Yu had said so, she didn't dare to disobey, so she walked forward and handed the letter to Leon. Demon King Fungus's mission was a simple mission, and it didn't mix with Wang Yu's mission at all. Demon King Fungus smoothly completed the last part of the mission after handing the letter to Leon. After completing the mission, the generous reward made Demon King Fungus's experience bar skyrocket. Then Leon nodded and praised. "Good child. It must have been hard on you. This is a piece of, or I got when I was young. I don't have much use for it now. Take it." As he spoke, Leon took out a black and swarthy stone and handed it to the Demon King Fungus. What an ugly stone. Demon King Fungus was a girl, and she was used to judging by appearance. After receiving the black stone, she muttered discontentedly and was about to put it away. At this moment, Wang Yu seemed to have thought of something, and his eyes suddenly lit up. He suddenly asked, "What is this?" Demon King Fungus glanced at the stone and said, "It's called black crystal, but it doesn't look like a crystal to me." At the same time, Demon King Fungus displayed the stone's attributes. Black crystal, an unknown mineral that contains a mysterious power. F***CK. How did the black crystal come about? Seeing the attributes of the stone in Demon King Fungus's hand, Wang Yu's eyeballs almost fell out. Wang Yu also knew that the black crystal could only be obtained by completing missions, but in Wang Yu's subconscious, such a precious thing could only be obtained by completing at least an S-rank mission. Who knew that it was obtained from the simplest mission, like running a circle? What kind of messed up setting is this game? Of course, what Wang Yu did not know was that although running a circle was simple, it was not easy to do simple things continuously. Moreover, the rarity of a 250 circle running mission was definitely not much higher than an S-rank mission. Moreover, there was a limit to whether or not one could obtain the black crystal in the end. This time, Demon King Fungus was really lucky. "Why? Do you like this thing?" Demon King Fungus looked at the black crystal in her hand and asked Wang Yu in confusion. "And?" Wang Yu nodded vigorously. "I've been looking for this recently." "Then take it." Demon King Fungus heard this and threw the black crystal over. Wang Yu took the black crystal and said, feeling overwhelmed by the favor, "For me? This? How can I accept this?" Obviously, Demon King Fungus did not know the value of the black crystal. As the saying went, one should not accept a reward without doing anything. If Wang Yu just accepted it, wouldn't that mean? "For you? In your dreams." Demon King Fungus laughed. "This is your reward. Quickly return the mercenary contract to me." "You shameless person, you still want to renege on your debt?" After Wang Yu returned the contract to Demon King Fungus, Demon King Fungus' mission was officially completed. So, she patted Wang Yu's shoulder and said, "Okay, the mission is completed. Let's go." Chapter 1187. With that, Wang Yu walked up to Leon and asked, "Your Excellency Leon, I've helped you get rid of your mortal enemy. Shouldn't you show me some gratitude?" If Wang Yu's guess was right, since the key to his quest was these two temples, then Hermit's notebook must be in these two temples. Sheng Yali had already been killed by Wang Yu, and not even a hair had dropped. It was obvious that Hermit's notebook was in Leon's hands. Therefore, it was reasonable for Wang Yu to ask Leon for a reward. However, Wang Yu seemed to have underestimated the shamelessness of NPCs. Even if a player completed a quest, they would still want to deduct the reward, not to mention Wang Yu's current situation. "Show." Hearing Wang Yu's words, Leon sneered. "I didn't ask you to kill her. Why should I show you anything? Did you accept a quest from me?" In the game, if you didn't accept a quest, you couldn't activate the reward system. Leon's logic wasn't wrong. Not only did Leon not give Wang Yu a reward, but he also asked Wang Yu, "You were being chased by the Crusaders, and I let you into the temple to take refuge. So, shouldn't you show me some gratitude?" Wang Yu was speechless by Leon's retort. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone as shameless as Leon. It was fine if Leon didn't give him a reward, but he even asked Wang Yu for a reward. As expected, his character was very bad. However, since Wang Yu dared to ask Leon for a reward, he must have his reasons. After being rejected by Leon, Wang Yu asked with a smile, "Then, do you have a quest for me to do?" Leon glanced at the box on the ground with Sheng Yali's head in it and said, "I did, but now I don't. Sorry for making you come here for nothing." "Oomph." Wang Yu snorted and said as he approached Leon, "Not necessarily. I seem to have another mission on me." With every sentence she said, Wang Yu took a step forward. By the time she finished saying the word mission, Wang Yu was already standing in front of Leon. Without saying anything further, she lifted her leg and kicked Leon. As mentioned earlier, Leon and Sheng Yali were both severely injured. Furthermore, Leon did not have the cross to store his divine power. At this moment, Leon could not even stand. Wang Yu's kick sent Leon tumbling to the ground. F***ck me. What are you doing? Seeing Wang Yu suddenly attack Leon, the Demon King Fungus could not help but scream. "Nonsense, of course I'm going to kill him," Wang Yu said matter-of-factly. "Why?" Devil Fungus was at a loss. He had no idea why Wang Yu was doing this. Wang Yu kicked Leon, who was rolling on the ground, and said righteously, "Who told him not to give me a reward?" Hearing this, the Demon King Fungus almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Yes, this reason was indeed powerful. Just now, because Sheng Yali did not give him a reward, he killed Sheng Yali without a second word. Now, because Leon did not give him a reward, he started to attack Leon. Just how cruel was the personality of this fellow who killed his superiors and subordinates, and would attack without saying a word. No wonder the world of Windcloud and the others saw this guy as if they had seen the god of plague. Damn, this guy was inhumane. Thinking of this, the Demon King Fungus trembled and hurriedly took a few steps back, distancing himself from Wang Yu. He could not afford to offend him. Of course, the reason why Wang Yu attacked Leon was mainly because Wang Yu still had a mission to kill Leon. Although Sheng Yali had a pretentious expression on her face and expressed that she wouldn't give any rewards, things like quest rewards weren't completely dependent on the quest's NPC. Otherwise, wouldn't this quest be meaningless? Since Leon said he had a mission, it was obvious that the final mission reward would be with Leon. In other words, there were two ways to complete this mission. 1. Accept the mission from Leon and use the cross as a stepping stone to kill Sheng Yali, then come back to receive the reward. 2. Accept the mission from Sheng Yali and use Sheng Yali's head as a stepping stone to kill Leon, then come back to receive the reward. In short, with a degree of freedom and rebirth, these two strategies could be successful, but the difficulty was different. Although Leon did not have much combat power at the moment, the HP of a level 200 boss was not to be underestimated. With more than 100 million HP, even with Wang Yu's heavy attacks, it took a long time for Leon to turn into a white light and die. Pada! After Leon died, a dirty notebook fell to the ground. Wang Yu picked it up and glanced at it. It was the hermit's lost notebook that he needed to find in his mission. That's it. After picking up the notebook, Wang Yu did not feel any sense of accomplishment. Instead, he suddenly felt a sense of guilt. Logically speaking, the difficulty of a job skill mission should not be too high. However, as a martial arts scholar, Wang Yu had always had a harder time than others, be it changing his job or awakening. But this time, the mission was for Wang Yu to kill 2 powerless bosses. Although the Divine Demon Fortress was filled with high-level monsters, compared to previous missions, this was a little too easy. Just as Wang Yu was feeling puzzled, the system gave him another notification. Damn you! Seeing the system notification, Wang Yu was stunned for a moment, then cursed. System notification. You have killed the commander of the Dark Faction, Leon. You will be pursued by the Dark Army in the Divine Demon Fortress. System notification. You have killed the commanders of the Light and Dark Factions in the Divine Demon Fortress. Neutral Faction Reputation Points, plus 200. Neutral Faction Honor Points, plus 200. You will be pursued by the Light and Dark Alliance Army in the Divine Demon Fortress. System notification. After the death of the player, the mission item Hermit's Lost Notebook has a 100% chance of dropping, and the mission has failed. It cannot be accepted again. Teleportation tools cannot be used in the Divine Demon Fortress. F*CK. No wonder this mission was not difficult at all. So this was the most difficult part. Even the game designers did not know how many monsters there were in the Divine Demon Fortress. Just the pursuit of the Light Army was already too much for Wang Yu to handle. At this moment, the hatred of the two armies was all on Wang Yu, and Wang Yu had become a real street rat. Quick! Quick! After coming to his senses, Wang Yu pulled the Demon King Fungus and ran out of the Divine Palace. After all, it would take time for the Dark Army to gather. The two of them still had a chance while there were only monsters from the Light Army outside. Otherwise, even Wang Yu would have a hard time breaking out of this tight encirclement. But when Wang Yu brought the Demon King Fungus to the entrance of the Darkness Divine Palace, the two of them were instantly dumbfounded. As they had been delayed in the Darkness Divine Palace for too long, the Light Army that had been pursuing Wang Yu had already gathered. At this moment, they had surrounded the Darkness Divine Palace in layers. Chapter 1188. Seeing this, Wang Yu hurriedly pulled the Demon King Fungus back into the temple. What a joke! Let alone so many level 100 high-level monsters. Even if it was a level 1 wild dog, Wang Yu would be healed by so many of them. Under such circumstances, he did not dare to force his way in. He could only hide in the temple's safe zone. What do we do now? After seeing the situation outside, the Demon King Fungus was scared out of her wits. She had played the game for so long, but she had never seen so many monsters. Now that the outside of the temple was surrounded, the Demon King Fungus could only pin her hopes on Wang Yu. Although it was safe in the temple, they could not stay here for the rest of their lives. Wouldn't that be a disguised imprisonment? It was just a game. There was no need to, I don't know either. Seeing the Demon King Fungus asking him, Wang Yu also spread his hands to express his helplessness. After all, Wang Yu always liked to solve problems with violence. Wang Yu rarely thought about such things that used his brain. At this time, facing so many pursuers outside, Wang Yu naturally did not have any good ideas. Under normal circumstances, if Wang Yu was targeted by NPCs, she could still put on her mask and hide her identity to escape. However, right now, Wang Yu's aggro was enforced. If she wanted these pursuers to leave, the only way was to transfer the aggro to someone else. Right, transfer aggro. Thinking of this, Wang Yu was delighted and quickly said, "Don't you have a mouse? Lead these guys away." Lead? The Demon King Fungus pointed to the endless pursuers outside and said, "The mouse's time limit is only 5 minutes. How far can it lead these guys in 5 minutes?" Indeed, judging from the scale of the pursuers outside, a mere 5 minutes would at most make these monsters turn around. At that time, the monster's strength would increase by 20%, and it would be even more difficult to deal with them. If it's only 5 minutes to lead them away, what if it's a different target? Wang Yu touched his chin and looked up and down at the Demon King Fungus. Hearing this, the Demon King Fungus trembled and quickly shouted, "Don't even think about it." Only God knew how much hatred these monsters had for Wang Yu. If he only died once, it would be fine. He did not lack that bit of EXP. However, if these monsters were determined to hunt him down and kill him 100 times, wouldn't that be a huge loss? The customs of the City of Sin were most likely influenced by the monsters here. What are you thinking about? Wang Yu casually patted Demon King Fungus' head and said, "No go. Am I the kind of person who would betray a friend?" Demon King Fungus covered his head, squinted at Wang Yu, and asked, "Then how do you want to change the target?" At this time, Wang Yu took out Hermit's notebook and handed it to Devil King Fungus. "Take this book." "This? What does this mean?" Devil King Fungus was confused. Wang Yu explained, "My target is this book, and the monsters outside are targeting me. If I die, the book will drop. Now I will transfer my target, the book, to you, and then I will go out and lead the monsters away. Their hatred is now on me, and you take the opportunity to escape, understand?" Air. Wang Yu's tongue twister made the Demon King Fungus confused. After being stunned for a while, he took the book and said, "I think I understand it a little. Anyway, I'll just take the book back to the city later." "You are worth teaching." Wang Yu nodded with satisfaction, then stood up and walked out of the temple. "Wait." At this time, Devil King Fungus stopped Wang Yu again. "Why? Is there anything else you don't understand?" Wang Yu turned his head and asked. "No." Devil King Fungus blushed and handed the remaining clockwork rat to Wang Yu. "Take this thing. Although 5 minutes is not a lot, at least it can help you last a little longer." "Thanks." Wang Yu did not stand on ceremony with Devil King Fungus. He took the clockwork rat and put in his bag, then hung the red scarf and walked out of the temple resolutely. Devil King Fungus looked at Wang Yu's back and whispered, "See you in the city." After hiding in the temple for a while, the number of monsters outside increased. Fortunately, the number of monsters was no longer increasing. It seemed that the system had a bottom line. At least it was not shameless to the extent that it could make people angry. As soon as Wang Yu walked out of the temple, the monsters who were ready to attack all glared at him. Suddenly, Wang Yu felt thousands of hateful gazes. Not only did Wang Yu not feel depressed, but he also felt a sense of accomplishment after provoking so many powerful enemies for a mission. No wonder those guys in Xuanzhen were so fearful of Wuji. It turned out that it felt good to be the public enemy of the world. Of course, now is not the time to be complacent. After leaving the temple, Wang Yu spread his wings and flew into the sky without saying anything. Seeing that Wang Yu was about to fly away, the pursuers on the ground did not want to be outdone. They spread their wings and flew into the sky. In an instant, the whole sky darkened. There was a saying from Zhuangzi, "Fly in anger, wings like clouds in the sky." It was definitely a description of the current scene. After flying into the sky, without the protection of the temple, the monsters swarmed in from all directions. Wang Yu smiled slightly when he saw this. His figure flashed, and his whole body descended 5 meters. Then he swooped down. Relying on the invincibility period, he withstood the layers of attacks and rushed out of the encirclement of the pursuers. Countless pursuers could not slow down in time. They fell into the air and collided with each other. It was a mess. Then, Wang Yu spread his wings and flew straight to the temple on the ground while the pursuers were in chaos. These pursuers were brainless system AI. Now, there was only one command in their minds to hate the target. Therefore, after the chaos, they quickly reorganized their formation and chased from top to bottom. In a few breaths, the pursuers followed closely behind Wang Yu and flew to the roof of the temple. Wang Yu was not in a hurry. He led the soldiers who were chasing after him and circled around the divine temple. It was proven that the person being chased always had the initiative in the direction. When one's speed was not as fast as the pursuers, it was definitely more useful to circle around the building than to rush forward brainlessly. Due to the large number of pursuers, they would instinctively form into columns when they were circling around the buildings. Now that the pursuers behind Wang Yu were stretched out, they were like a thick, gluttonous snake. When Wang Yu circled around the temple, the gluttonous snake behind him only turned slightly. Wang Yu lowered his body again, and the gluttonous snake, his head hit the snake's body. It was a mess again. Wang Yu chuckled, folded the wings behind him, and landed firmly on the ground with thunder steps. After breaking up the encirclement of the pursuers, the mythical fortress could be said to be flat. Without saying a word, Wang Yu activated his Qin Gong and disappeared without a trace with the countless pursuers behind him. Chapter 1189. Wang Yu's movement speed bonus was much higher than his flight speed bonus. Hence, when he ran, there was only one word to describe it: fast. Just now, Wang Yu was almost surrounded by the monsters from the Light faction. The main reason was that the monsters came from all directions. No matter how fast Wang Yu ran, he would not be able to escape from a circle of monsters. Now, all the monsters were gathered together. Although it looked quite scary, on the other hand, it made it much easier for Wang Yu to escape. One had to know that Wang Yu's running speed was faster than the monsters chasing after him. Now that the monsters were all gathered together behind Wang Yu, they could not surround him. As a result, they had basically lost their advantage in numbers. Because of this, Wang Yu was running for his life, and the monsters chasing after Wang Yu could only eat dirt. As the monsters were all behind him, there were no enemies in front of him. Wang Yu also did not have to jump up and down, and the consumption of his movement skill was reduced to a minimum. Under Wang Yu's lead, the group of monsters got further and further away from the exit. After a few minutes, they had probably left the divine fortress with the Devil King fungus. Wang Yu led the pursuers and made a big turn, turning around and running towards the entrance of the supply route. After all, Wang Yu was now level 60. 10% of his experience was not a small amount. If he could not die, Wang Yu would definitely not give up on his last hope of survival. Just now, Wang Yu's goal was to lure these monsters away. Therefore, when she ran, she only wanted to follow her pursuers. Therefore, she did not unleash her full speed. Now, Wang Yu's goal was to shake off her pursuers. Therefore, she unleashed her full speed. Not long after, she had shaken off her pursuers. Of course, the consumption of movement skill was also very significant. When Wang Yu was about to reach the entrance of the supply route, his movement skill was almost depleted. However, at this moment, a group of people appeared in front of Wang Yu. Damn, why are there more monsters in front of me? Seeing the figure blocking the road in front of him, Wang Yu thought that it was the monsters chasing after him. He couldn't help but be shocked. Just when Wang Yu thought he was done for, a shout came from the opposite side. "He's Iron Ox." Only then did Wang Yu react. It turned out that the people blocking their path were actually players. As long as it's a player, Wang Yu breathed a sigh of relief when he learned that it wasn't a monster blocking his path. Just as he was about to walk over, however, Wang Yu suddenly felt the killing intent of the opposing player. In the blink of an eye, Wang Yu stopped and took a few steps back. Shwa shwa shwa. At the same time, rows and rows of arrows flew like flying yellow arrows, landing where Wang Yu had been standing. Seeing this, Wang Yu couldn't help but feel shocked and angry. He also realized the goal of this group of people. Damn it, could it be that he had just escaped from the tiger's mouth and entered the wolf's den? With the temperament of the City of Sin players, it wasn't strange for them to take advantage of the situation. Thinking up to this point, Wang Yu couldn't help but frown and shout at the other side. "Everyone, what is the meaning of this?" As expected, hearing Wang Yu's words, Red Wolf walked out of the crowd with a smile and replied, "Nothing much. I just want Boss Iron Ox to leave some money for the road." "It's you?" Wang Yu had just met Red Wolf not long ago, so he naturally recognized him. After seeing Red Wolf, Wang Yu immediately understood. So these players were recruited by the Wild Wolf group. No wonder Wuji often said that good things should be done and bad things should be done to an extreme. He didn't think that after he let these bastards go, these bastards would turn around and cause trouble for him. "Isn't it me?" Red Wolf smiled proudly and said, "Boss Iron Ox, we meet again." "Huh?" Seeing Red Wolf's expression, Wang Yu's face darkened as he asked, "You still dare to appear in front of me? Was the lesson I gave you not enough?" "Enough, enough. How could it not be enough?" Red Wolf pretended to be afraid and shrank back. Then he stood up straight and smiled provocatively. "Look at how many people I brought. Do I look like someone who doesn't learn from his mistakes?" Red Wolf's meaning was clear. "I can't beat you with 10 people, and now there are thousands of people. I don't believe that you can kill all of them." "Oomph." Wang Yu glanced at the countless players behind Red Wolf and snorted coldly. "Do you think you can stop me with just you? We don't dare. We don't dare." Red Wolf smiled and snapped his fingers. Then Banana Wolf and Gray Wolf walked out of the crowd with a person between them. That person's short stature was suspended in mid-air like a corgi being held by the back of his neck. When he saw Wang Yu looking over, he struggled and kicked a few times with his 2 short legs to hide his embarrassment. This scene was so similar. The player who was being carried was the Demon King Fungus. I'm sorry." The Demon King Fungus saw Wang Yu and lowered his head in embarrassment. Wang Yu face-bombed and broke down. "Why were you captured by them?" Without waiting for the Demon King Fungus to answer, Red Wolf laughed and said, Do you know that we've been waiting for you here for a long time? This was not because Red Wolf and the others were smart enough to know that Wang Yu would come back sooner or later, so they chose to wait for him. It was because there were too many monsters in the Divine Fortress. Red Wolf's group was a big target, and they really couldn't break in. They had no choice but to wait here. They didn't expect that they would really wait for Wang Yu and the Demon King fungus to come back. With Wang Yu's ability, although it was not exaggerated to fight thousands of people alone, if Wang Yu wanted to escape, he could come and go freely even if he faced the masters of the major guilds, let alone this group of hooligans. However, the Demon King fungus was now in the hands of Red Wolf and the others. In the game, a life was naturally far less valuable than equipment. However, if the Demon King fungus died, the mission items on him would definitely drop. Wouldn't that not be a loss? Moreover, the pursuers behind were getting closer and closer. Even if Wang Yu had the ability to save the Demon King fungus in the midst of thousands of enemies, the pursuers behind would not give him the time. After thinking for a while, Wang Yu took out a money bag and said to Red Wolf, "Okay, I admit defeat this time. Take this 10,000 gold and let my friend go." Although the exchange rate of gold coins was getting lower and lower, 10,000 gold was not a small amount. It was definitely worth it to spend so much money to buy a life in the game. 10,000 gold. However, Red Wolf did not even look at the money bag in Wang Yu's hand. He did not buy it. Instead, he said sarcastically, "We have so many people this time. 10,000 gold is less than 1 gold coin for each person. Do you think I'm a beggar? Oh, then how much time do you think?" Seeing Red Wolf like this, Wang Yu also put away his good temper, stuffed the money bag back into the bag, and asked coldly, "Not much." Red Wolf looked at Wang Yu and said, "Leave all the equipment on you. Save us the trouble of doing it ourselves." Chapter 1190. In the game, equipment was always more valuable than life. The meaning of Red Wolf's words was clear. If Wang Yu refused to compromise, they would use Sinner City's unique skill, pulling him into the resurrection point to kill him. Of course, it was wishful thinking for these small fries to kill Wang Yu, but it was easy for them to kill the white devil fungus. A dragon in the shallows would be toyed with by prawns, and a tiger in the plains would be bullied by dogs. Wang Yu had seen a lot of things, but this was the first time he was threatened by a group of hooligans. The devil fungus life could not be handed over to this group of people. As for Wang Yu's equipment, it was even more impossible to hand it over. At this time, the devil fungus was also anxious. She quickly private messaged Wang Yu, "Don't listen to him. Don't give him the equipment." "I know." Wang Yu replied with certainty. "Are you afraid of death?" "I'm not afraid of dying once." The devil fungus replied. Obviously, she was also afraid of being dragged into the resurrection point. One had to know that this chick had just escaped from death once. "Don't worry," Wang Yu said calmly. "If you die, I'll make sure all of them die with you." After saying that, Wang Yu walked towards the city of sinners players step by step. Seeing that Wang Yu walked over without saying anything, Red Wolf thought that Wang Yu was really intimidated by him. He smiled and said, "I knew it. A wise man submits to circumstances. It would have been better if you had done this earlier. It would have saved us a lot of trouble." "That makes sense." Wang Yu smiled and nodded. Just as Wang Yu was about 10 meters away from the Devil King fungus, Wang Yu suddenly stomped on the ground and leaped into the air, charging in the direction of the Wild Wolf Regiment with extreme speed. F***CK not good. When Red Wolf saw Wang Yu suddenly rushing into the formation, he immediately understood Wang Yu's intention to snatch the person. The Demon King fungus was the bargaining chip of Red Wolf and others. Red Wolf naturally wouldn't let Wang Yu snatch it away, let alone let the Demon King fungus die easily. So he hurriedly shouted, "Quickly pull that chick to the back." Hearing this, Banana Wolf and Big White Wolf immediately grabbed the devil fungus and hid behind the crowd. At this moment, Wang Yu arrived in front of the City of Sin players. "Stop him. Otherwise, no one will get a share of the equipment," Red Wolf shouted, pointing at Wang Yu as he gave orders to the players behind him. With the equipment as a bargaining chip, these money-minded bastards from the City of Sin were very motivated. Before Wong, you could catch up to the Demon King fungus. A group of tanks blocked the path between the Demon King fungus and Wang Yu. Hee hee. Wang Yu smiled and stepped in the air. His body once again rose by a few meters, then his feet stepped in the air again. He used the last of his agility to activate quadruple leap, leaping over the group of tanks and flying above the Demon King fungus. Quick, shoot him! At that time, the various robber groups from the city of Sin also gave orders to the archers and mages behind them. They weren't afraid of killing Wang Yu. After all, Wang Yu dared to rush so many people for the Demon King fungus. As long as she had the Demon King fungus, they weren't afraid that Wang Yu would leave her behind. Swoosh, swoosh. A sky full of arrows once again flew towards Wang Yu. Wang Yu narrowed his eyes and immediately activated Thunderstomp. Boom! Wang Yu descended from the sky and stomped the Demon King fungus into a white light. When he landed, a circle of lightning spread out. Wherever the lightning went, a large number of the City of Sin players surrounding the Demon King fungus died. This motley crew couldn't compare to the real experts. If it was the players from the big guilds, Wang Yu wouldn't have been able to instantly kill so many tanks. Pada! After the Demon King fungus died, the hermit's notebook on its body fell to the ground. Wang Yu casually waved his hand and used cloud-grasping fist to grab the notebook. At the same time, the surrounding City of Sin players also pounced forward. Wang Yu didn't panic. His figure flashed and appeared above the crowd. He held both hands and flew steadily in the air. Foo, 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 foo. Now that Wang Yu had killed the Devil King fungus, the Red Wolf lost the bait to threaten Wang Yu. He immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation. He pointed at Wang Yu and shouted, "Don't run if you have the guts. Everyone, kill him." Ha! Wang Yu laughed and took out an item from his bag. He threw it over and said, "It's not easy for you guys to block this place. This thing is for you." Red Wolf was stunned. He caught the item that Wang Yu threw over and looked at it. He saw a small mouse lying on his palm and sniffing around. F***CK. Red Wolf was furious and threw the mouse to the ground. Pooh! The mouse turned into a cloud of smoke and merged with Red Wolf's body. Wang Yu flapped her wings and flew over the heads of the City of Sin players. She dove into the supply line and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Rumble! Red Wolf was about to give the order to give chase when the ground suddenly began to tremble. Immediately after, the sky above the demonic god fortress darkened. As far as the eye could see, there was a dark mass of unknown creatures flying toward the supply route. What's that? Seeing this scene, the City of Sin players were shocked. Then, the archers with the best eyesight looked over. When they saw what it was, they were shocked and cried out, Not good. It's a monster. Monster. When everyone heard this, they immediately felt a chill from their scalps to their heels. Meow. The City of Sin players had seen how fierce the monsters in the demonic god fortress were. Just now, the few monsters at the entrance were enough to make everyone busy for a while. Now, there was a sea of them that covered the sky. The City of Sin players had always harmed others to benefit themselves. Moreover, this motley crew was made up of countless small groups and did not have the slightest bit of organization or discipline. Now that Wang Yu had run away and the Devil King fungus was dead, everyone had already given up. When they saw the monsters flying over, how could they fight back? Without another word, everyone rushed into the supply route like a swarm of bees. The supply route was only a few meters wide. At most, 2 or 3 people could pass through it side by side. Once there were too many people, they would immediately bump into each other and become a mess. In the game, there were many people who took advantage of the chaos to rob others, not to mention these lowly bastards from the City of Sin. These people lived in the same city. Robbing others made them enemies. In their line of work, it was normal for them to make enemies. Now that the situation was chaotic, everyone knew that they couldn't escape. As such, they began to defend themselves and take revenge. In any case, if they couldn't escape, they couldn't escape either. In an instant, there were countless people who were squeezed to death, trampled to death, or killed by sneak attacks. White lights lit up in the city of Sin players. Seeing the group of monsters getting closer and closer, Red Wolf gritted his teeth and ordered his subordinates to open up a path. The Wild Wolf group was worthy of being called the most evil group of people in the city of Sin. Everyone saw each other all the time, and they were always sneaky. This group of people directly started killing people in the open. The mages used AoE spells to pave the way, and the warriors used charge to clear the obstacles. The Wild Wolf group broke through the encirclement and entered the supply route. Chapter 1191. Before the monsters of the Divine Demon Fortress slaughtered the players of Sin City, Wang Yu had already flown into the supply route. After entering the supply route, Wang Yu was afraid that Red Wolf and the others would also leave through the supply route. Therefore, Wang Yu was not in a hurry to return to the city. Instead, he blocked the supply route, intending to hold off 10,000 enemies by himself. The narrow space of the supply route could only allow 2 players to pass through side by side. No formation would be able to separate them. In such a terrain, Wang Yu was confident that he could kill every player in Sin City by himself. That's right, Wang Yu was a man of his word. If he said that he wanted everyone to die with the Demon King fungus, then he had to make everyone die with it. However, as Wang Yu blocked the supply route, chaos erupted in the fortress. Immediately after, the Red Wolves led the Feral Wolves into the supply route. Wang Yu was overjoyed. Just as he was about to attack, the monsters of the Divine Demon Fortress entered the supply route. The Feral Wolves were only a dozen meters away from Wang Yu. If Wang Yu wanted to kill them, it would be a piece of cake. However, when Wang Yu saw the Feral Wolves, he slowed down. He did not expect these monsters to have such powerful aggro. They had actually chased him into the supply route. Wang Yu was slightly stunned. Immediately, he took out a return scroll and tore it. He then transformed into a streak of light and disappeared from the Feral Wolf's sight. It could not be helped. Whether it was in Rebirth or other games, the aggro of monsters was always transferable. Moreover, it was always transferred to the nearest monster. Even if it was a common monster, after its aggro was killed, it would automatically attack the nearest monster. Not to mention, the Red Wolf's aggro had been transferred from Wang Yu. If Wang Yu killed the Feral Wolves now, wouldn't he become the monster's next target? After being chased by these brainless monsters for so long, Wang Yu was thoroughly annoyed. He absolutely did not want to be chased a second time. 10 years is not too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Qianjin could take revenge from dawn to dusk. As the saying goes, the future is long. Naturally, he was not in a hurry to settle his grudge with the Wild Wolf Regiment right now. Moreover, the reason why Wang Yu used the teleportation scroll in front of Red Wolf and the others was also for a purpose. After mixing with the people of Qianjin for so long, he did not learn sinister and cunning, but Wang Yu's black-bellied character had awakened a lot. Since these monsters were able to chase the Red Wolf into the food path, it could be seen that their hatred was of the type that would not rest until one of them was dead. If the Red Wolf were to teleport back to the city now, Sure enough, when Red Wolf saw Wang Yu suddenly vanish into thin air, he immediately reacted. Once he left Divine Fortress, he could use a transmission tool. In this situation, escaping was the most important thing. Red Wolf did not think too much about it and shouted, "City Return Scroll." Return Scroll. Rebirth was a point-and-click game, and traveling back and forth to level up took up a lot of time. Therefore, most players would at least have a City Return Scroll in case they needed it. Hearing Red Wolf shout, the members of the Wild Wolf Guild hurriedly took out City Return Scrolls from their backpacks and tore them in half. In an instant, a white light enveloped the members of the Wild Wolf Guild. In the next moment, Red Wolf and the others appeared at the teleportation point of the City of Sinners. F***CK. You scared me to death. Seeing that they had finally escaped the monster's pursuit, the members of the Wild Wolf Guild patted their chests and let out a long sigh of relief. After they calmed down, the members of the Wild Wolf Guild shouted, "Let's go and have a drink to calm down. Big Red is treating us. No objections, right? No objections. No objections." Red Wolf wiped his sweat and nodded. What a joke. They had almost died just now. If they dare to have any objections now, they would be beaten to death. As they spoke, the members of the Wild Wolf Guild walked out of the teleportation point. They had only taken a few steps when they suddenly heard a familiar line from behind. "Are you guys going to leave just like that? Don't you have to pay for the passage?" Hearing this, Red Wolf and the others were delighted. In the city of sinners, they were the only ones who asked for money. Who would dare to ask for money from them? Thus, they turned around and cursed. F***CK. You're not going. Before they could finish their words, they saw Wang Yu smiling at them. At that moment, everyone's scalps went numb, and they swallowed the rest of their words. The members of the Wild Wolf Guild had personally experienced Wang Yu's abilities. Even with so many of them, he had not been injured at all, let alone the few of them. Red Wolf's voice trembled as he said, It's you? That's right, it's me." The corners of Wang Yu's mouth curled up, revealing an expression that was not a smile. Seeing Wang Yu's strange expression, Red Wolf felt a chill down his spine. He said in fear, What are you trying to do? Don't be afraid. I'm just collecting some interest first." As he spoke, Wang had already rushed towards Red Wolf. Seeing this, Red Wolf raised the weapon in his hand to block. However, Wang Yu flipped his hand and poked Red Wolf's wrist. Aya! After being poked by Wang Yu, Red Wolf instinctively let go of his hand. Wang Yu grabbed his staff and pulled it down. Red Wolf's staff fell into Wang Yu's hand. At the same time, Wang Yu's other hand had already reached in front of Red Wolf's eyes and slapped Red Wolf's head. Red Wolf did not even make a sound before he was slapped into a white light. After killing Red Wolf, Wang Yu casually threw the staff into his bag, turned around, and suddenly stretched out both of his hands. At that moment, the two assassins were pulled out of thin air by Wang Yu and pulled in front of him. After the two assassins were pulled out by Wang Yu, their faces were full of confusion. Wang Yu smiled slightly and pinched the two assassins' wrists that were holding daggers with both hands, exerting force at the same time. The two assassins could not hold the daggers in their hands after being pinched by Wang Yu like this. Immediately after, Wang Yu took a step forward and activated Iron Mountain Backrest. His broad shoulders slammed into the two assassins. Bang bang! The two assassins were killed on the spot by Wang Yu. Wang Yu reached down with both hands, and two daggers also fell into his hands. Seeing Wang Yu's methods, the other members of the Wild Wolf Regiment were dumbfounded. From the time Wang Yu snatched the weapons to the time when Red Wolf and the other two were killed, only a few seconds had passed. Before the others could even react, Red Wolf and the other two had already passed away. Not to mention that Red Wolf and the other two were already strong. Even if they were experts, they would not be able to kill them so quickly. They were really human. What was even more terrifying was that before Wang Yu killed them, he also took away the weapons of Red Wolf and the others. Damn, what do you mean by there's always someone stronger than you? What do you mean by there's always someone stronger than you? When a Wild Wolf Regiment raided houses, they always relied on intimidation. If they met someone who resisted, they would just tie them up and throw them into the resurrection point. This was a stupid method that wasted time and did not have a high degree of safety. However, Wang Yu had only stretched out his hand and easily snatched away Red Wolf's weapons. Just this level of skill alone far surpassed all the players in the City of Sin. If it wasn't for the fact that Wang Yu was an enemy, the Wild Wolf Regiment members would have probably knelt down and kowtowed to him. What is going on? What did I just see? Chapter 1192. Oh my, the weapon is not bad. At this moment, Wang Yu glanced at the attributes of the weapons he had snatched from Red Wolf and the others and could not help but sigh. As a professional robber, the weapons in his hands would definitely not be bad. After saying that, Wang Yu's gaze landed on the others. The Wild Wolf Regiment robbed for a living. Of course, they would not be unaware of the meaning behind Wang Yu's gaze. If these people dared to come out to rob, they would definitely not be afraid of death. If Wang Yu only knew how to kill people, they would definitely not be afraid. However, after seeing Wang Yu's methods of robbing people, they did not dare to be careless anymore. When they saw Wang Yu looking over, the group of people was immediately scared out of their wits. They instinctively ran into the safe zone. It had to be said that these robbers were very skilled in anti-robbery. The teleportation point was an absolute safe zone. The city of Sin was not Yu Hui Chung, and the guards here would not listen to Wang Yu's commands. Even so, the remaining members of the Wild Wolf squad who were hiding in the safe zone looked at Wang Yu, who was outside the teleportation point, with lingering fear. They did not even dare to breathe loudly, afraid that he would break the rules of the game and barge into the safe zone to steal their items. It cannot be helped. Those who had fought with Wang Yu before would instinctively feel that the rules of the system did not work on Wang Yu. As for the Wild Wolf Regiment's behavior of hiding in the safe zone, Wang Yu was not surprised at all. After all, to face him head-on in such a situation, there must be something wrong with their brains. Wang Yu laughed coldly as he looked at the Wild Wolf Regiment members who were staring at him and trembling in fear. He gave them a meaningful look, then turned around and left. Seeing Wang Yu getting further and further away, the members of the Wild Wolf Regiment were dumbfounded. He left just like that. Although they watched Wang Yu leave, the Wild Wolf Regiment was still worried. Impossible. Grey Wolf curled his lips and said confidently, "This guy is very cunning. He must be lying in ambush nearby, waiting for us to go out and rob us of our equipment." Grey Wolf's voice became louder and louder, obviously trying to hide the fear in his heart. Everyone was astounded when they heard this. At this time, Red Wolf also saw the chat history of Grey Wolf and the others in the team channel. He could not help but say, "Even if he really left, do you guys still dare to go out now?" "Nonsense, we definitely wouldn't dare." All the wolves decisively admitted defeat. "That's it," Red Wolf said disdainfully. He probably knew that you would have the same thoughts as Big Gray, so he came to the resurrection point to block the three of us. Hiss. When the wolves heard this, they couldn't help but gasp and said, "A diversion." Treacherous, as expected. What should we do now? Should we go and save you? Don't talk nonsense. Are you here to give equipment to that grandson? Red Wolf said disdainfully, "Let's hide in the safe zone first. I don't believe that he can block us for a day." 10 minutes later, the airship flying towards Yu Hui Chung from the city of Sin rose into the sky. On the airship, Wang Yu took one last look at the land of the city of Sin. He casually took out the 2 daggers that he snatched from the wild wolves and handed them to Demon King Fungus. "These 2 daggers are not bad. I'll give them to you." After being kicked in the head by Wang Yu, Demon King Fungus was very unhappy. She pouted her lips so high that it could be tied to a donkey. Looking at the daggers that Wang Yu handed over, Demon King Fungus curled her lips and said, "Oomph. You kill me this time and lost all your experience in running circles. You want to bribe me with 2 broken daggers? Do you really think that my head was stepped on by a donkey?" This little girl was still sharp-tongued. While complaining, she did not forget to secretly insult Wang Yu. However, when she took the daggers and looked at the attributes, she immediately swallowed the 100 curses that she was about to throw at Wang Yu. Demon King Fungus was the little sister of a tycoon like World of Windcloud. It was not that she had never seen dark gold equipment before. However, this was the first time that she had met someone like Wang Yu, who would casually give away 2 dark gold daggers. Giving away 2 dark gold equipment with just 1 kick. This young man was so generous that even a rich person like Demon King Fungus was dumbfounded. Even a tycoon like Demon King Fungus could not help but want to be stepped on by Wang Yu a few more times. Of course, the reason why Wang Yu gave these 2 daggers to Demon King Fungus was not only because he felt guilty for killing Demon King Fungus, but also because the black crystal that Demon King Fungus gave to Wang Yu was too precious. Although Demon King Fungus gave the black crystal to Wang Yu as mercenary fees, that was because Demon King Fungus did not know the value of the black crystal. As the saying goes, one should not accept an undeserved reward. The Demon King Fungus had eyes but could not see, but Wang Yu was not blind. Wang Yu naturally did not dare to accept such a big gift from the Demon King Fungus. Now that he had given the 2 daggers to the Demon King Fungus, it could be considered as a return of the gift. It would save him the trouble of being entangled with the Demon King Fungus in the future. As the saying goes, A gentleman should be careful when he is alone. Why was Zhang Wuji called a scumbag? It was because this kid was not as sensible as Wang Yu. After coming to his senses, Demon King Fungus asked in surprise, F***CK, where did you get these 2 daggers? This. Wang Yu glanced at the surprised Demon King Fungus and said faintly, when I came back just now, I snatched it from the Wild Wolf Regiment. TSK, TSK, TSK. You're really awesome, aren't you? The Devil King Fungus once again gasped in admiration. He stole someone else's equipment and still looked so calm. Even the word awesome couldn't be used to describe him. Wang Yu glared at Demon King Fungus. Brat, can you speak properly? Hee hee. Seeing Wang Yu put on a stern face, the Demon King Mushroom quickly chuckled and changed the topic. Mother asterisk Kerr. The Wild Wolf Group is a group of bastards. Sooner or later, I will bring people back to kill them 8 or 10 times over. Hee hee. Wang Yu smiled and said, I'm afraid you won't have the chance. Why? Demon King Fungus was confused. Wang Yu looked down at the ground, then said indifferently, because we don't know if the City of Sin will still exist in the future. Demon King Fungus was even more confused. At this time, a system announcement appeared above the sky. Announcement. Due to a mysterious player killing the garrison commander of the Divine Demon Fortress, the monsters in the Divine Demon Fortress have rioted. In 5 minutes, the Light and Dark Alliance will attack the City of Sin. The peace of the Land of Rebirth for thousands of years will be broken. This day will be remembered in history. The announcement was repeated 3 times and resounded above the game. Seeing the content of the announcement, all the players in the game were excited. F***CK. Monsters attacking the city. The City of Sin is so lucky. I'm so envious. When will the monsters attack us? In an instant, all the speakers in the world were blasted as if they were free. All of them were expressing their envy for the City of Sin. After all, since ancient times, the monsters attacking the city in the game was one of the biggest scenes in the game. The mighty monsters under the leadership of the bosses would attack the main cities of the humans. Chapter 1193. King Fungus was a smart kid. After seeing the system announcement, he immediately guessed that it had something to do with Wang Yu. So he asked in shock, what's going on with the monsters attacking the city? Hee hee. Wang Yu laughed evilly. I transferred the aggro of the monsters in the Divine Demon Fortress to the Wild Wolves. The aggro of the monsters in the Divine Demon Fortress was all on the Red Wolves. If the Red Wolves were killed in the supply route, this would be the end of the matter. However, the Red Wolves thought themselves clever and followed Wang Yu back to the city, naturally bringing the aggro of the monsters into the city. King Fungus was startled. Then he shook his head and sighed. This time, Sinner's City is completely finished. Level 100 monsters attacking a main city where the average player level was 50. There was no suspense at all. Not to mention, the City of Sin's players didn't even have a proper guild. Normally, they were like a plate of loose sand. Now that the monsters were attacking the city, they knew that they wouldn't be able to take advantage of the situation. So they immediately logged off, hid, and surrendered the city. You're really ruthless. You even destroyed their base. King Fungus clenched his fists, his words full of respect. Of course. Wang Yu laughed. We have to be trustworthy. If we say we'll kill their whole family, we'll kill their whole family. King Fungus, Sinner City was quite far from Yuhuicheng. When the airship flew to Yuhuicheng, it was already afternoon. King Fungus parted ways with Wang Yu at the port and returned to the city alone. Wang Yu also came to the alley to hand in his quest. Hermit's face was still as annoying as before. When he saw Wang Yu return, he took the initiative to greet him. You're back so soon? How was it? Did you see Xingyali? This. Oh, I saw her. Wang Yu nodded. Is she okay? Hermit asked. Facing Hermit's question, Wang Yu thought about it and finally told the truth. She's dead. Dead? When Hermit heard this, a trace of sorrow flashed in his eyes. He then sighed and said, Sigh. That year, I left in a hurry and didn't get to see her for the last time. I only left a book for Leon to pass to him. I didn't expect to hear news of her again, but Wang Yu narrowed his eyes and listened to Hermit's gossip with relish. However, Hermit suddenly stopped and changed the topic. Did you bring it? I've brought it. Wang Yu saw that there was no gossip to listen to, so he took out the quest item and handed it over with a smile. Hermit took the quest item, flipped open the cover, and started explaining it to Wang Yu. The explanation process was actually just a cutscene animation, so Wang Yu didn't really understand it. However, after the cutscene animation, Wang Yu received a notification. You have learned the Qigong Ultimate Skill Defense. Condensed Aura into Weapon. You have been guided by your mentor and mastered it. Your skill, Flash Shadow Chain Kick, has been upgraded to Destruction. Flash Shadow Chain Kick. Defense. Condensed Aura into Weapon. Grandmaster Combat's Ultimate Skill. Condenses inner energy into a weapon to attack the target. When a Grandmaster of Combat uses a weapon condensed from inner energy, the attack power will be greatly increased, and there's a chance to stun the enemy. Ultimacy. Defense. Once again using condensed aura into weapon. The weapon condensed from inner energy will explode and cause fatal damage to targets within 300 meters. Destruction. Flash Shadow Chain Kick. Grandmaster of Combat's Ultimate Skill. Performs 3 powerful kicks on the target and causes both the user and the target to fly up at the same time to deal the final fatal blow. Ultimacy. Flash Shadow Chain Kick. Grandmaster of Combat's Ultimate Skill. Performs 3 powerful kicks on the target and causes both the user and the target to fly up at the same time to deal the final fatal blow. This skill. After seeing the new skill's attributes, Wang Yu's face involuntarily revealed a surprised expression. Condensed Aura Weapon was originally a buff that increased one's attack power with a stun effect. However, with the defense attribute, it became a remote control bomb. It was definitely the best weapon to win by surprise. There was no need to even mention Flash Chain Kick. This skill was famous for its damage. Now that it had the Pierce attribute, its damage increased by a large margin. With the Profound attribute, whether it was the skill's attributes or its practicality, it was much stronger than a regular ultimate skill. They were both ultimate skills, but his ultimate skills had been enhanced. This puzzled Wang Yu a little. He even felt a little uneasy. Was this a trap set up by the system? Seeing Wang Yu acting like he had never seen the world before, Hermit coldly snorted and said, "What's there to be surprised about? This skill was created by me and then passed down to others. You're my legacy disciple, so naturally it's different from others. Otherwise, why would I let you go so far to get it?" That's true. After listening to Hermit's words, the doubts in Wang Yu's heart instantly disappeared. Indeed, the game Rebirth had always emphasized that you would only reap what you sow. After completing this mission, Wang Yu was chased around like a dog by monsters. In the end, he even lost the City of Sinners. So what if the 2 skills were slightly stronger? After obtaining the 2 skills, Wang Yu was in a good mood. When he came out of the alley, he immediately posted a screenshot of the skill's attributes to the guild channel. After staying with Chuanjin for a long time, Wang Yu had also learned to show off and attract hatred. When he was free, it was also very interesting to mock each other with this group of fellows. As expected, when the Chuanjin students saw that Wang Yu was like a tiger that had grown wings, they all complained and lamented the unfairness of the world. To place one's pride in particular, he cried bitterly, saying that he had no dignity at all even though he was also a Grandmaster of Combat. The reaction of the Chuanjin students made Wang Yu very satisfied. After fooling around, Wang Yu also posted a screenshot of the Black Crystal to the guild channel. After Wang Yu's screenshot, the noisy guild channel immediately quietened down. After a long time, everyone exclaimed, "Holy sh*T, old cow, is this game owned by your family? Yesterday you said that the Black Crystal was hard to get, and today you got it. I really wonder if your surname is Ma." That's right. Tell us where you got this thing, or else we'll report you for using your identity as the young master of the game company to cheat. You bunch of scum. Seeing that the Chuanjin students were speaking as if it was true, Wang Yu was speechless. He laughed and scolded. This thing is a reward for running circles. Running circles? You play this too? Everyone was stunned again. The chain of quests, like running circles, was too troublesome. Most expert players would not play it. They did not expect that with Wang Yu's identity, he would also play this profession. No, Wang Yu explained, someone ran out and gave it to me. TSK. The Chuanjin students said in disdain, you even gave the black crystal to someone else? Do you think we're stupid? Why didn't anyone give it to me? Oh, Wang Yu pondered for a while and said shamelessly, this is a problem of personal charm. You have to find a reason from yourselves. F***CK. Everyone was depressed. Chapter 1194. The use of the black crystal was rather limited. Currently, no one had any use for something like the black crystal. The only person who could use it was Chun Xiang. Wang Yu asking Chun Xiang this question was clearly within everyone's expectations. Chun Xiang quickly said, not yet. I'll go to the arena now. No one expected Wang Yu to get something as rare as the black crystal so easily. Chun Xiang didn't think too much of it, so he didn't waste his time in the arena. Okay, Wang Yu said, the arena isn't difficult. It's easy to farm points. If everyone is together, it should be done in one night. TSK, TSK, TSK. Old Cow's words are so tough. Everyone shook their heads and curled their lips. The arena isn't difficult. Wang Yu said this to attract hatred. No matter how bad a player's skills were, they wouldn't be any better. Moreover, the professional league was getting closer and closer. Teams from major guilds would come to the arena to practice during their free time. They might even be matched with a professional team. The strength of a professional team was incomparable to the players that Wang Yu met in the past. Only a lawless guy like Wang Yu would dare to say it wasn't difficult. Okay, you guys go ahead. I have to go offline. Wang Yu was about to go offline. F***CK. Everyone panicked. You're not coming? Wang Yu raised his eyebrows and mocked. Look at the time. I'm different from you single people. I have something to do. It's only 6 in the evening. What the F***CK do you have to do? Everyone was confused. Recently, Wang Yu had been going offline very early. As a professional player, it was normal for him to stay up all night. Wang Yu didn't have any other work. Even if she wasn't used to staying up all night, it was normal for her to play until 10 p.m. Going offline before the sky had even darkened was too unprofessional, wasn't it? However, in the face of everyone's questioning, Wang Yu solemnly said, a human life is at stake. He then logged out of the game. When Wu Ji and the others heard this, they were stunned. Then, they reacted, and a strange expression appeared on their faces. Only Yang Na said foolishly, a life is at stake? Is something wrong? I'll log off to take a look. Forget it. Wu Ji quickly grabbed Yang Na and said, this is a matter between the two of us. A third party is not allowed to intervene. Yang Na, after he went offline, Mu Zixian was still in the game. Wang Yu washed his face and practiced 2 rounds of boxing in his bedroom. Then, he sat down at his desk and opened the game forum to broaden his horizons. At this moment, the mailbox suddenly rang. In this day and age, everything in the express delivery market has been networked. Every resident in a community had their own express mailbox. When people bought something online, if they couldn't get through to the phone, it would automatically be placed in the mailbox. Not to mention clothes and packages. Even if they wanted to buy groceries, they didn't need to go to the market. It was very convenient. Mu Zixian was a person who knew how to live her life. She rarely bought groceries online unless there was an emergency. The main reason was that she couldn't choose the groceries she bought online. If she couldn't choose, would it still be called buying groceries? She was a typical housewife, so she had never used the express mailbox at home. It was strange that it suddenly rang today. Of course, in the past, it was mainly because they were poor. Mu Zixian had problems feeding Wang Yu. Naturally, she wouldn't buy things online. Now that their living standards had improved, it was reasonable to buy things online. Women were born this way. Men didn't need to talk nonsense, they just needed to pay. As everyone knew, Wang Yu was a spoiled young master. Mu Zixian rarely asked him to do these chores. However, if Wang Yu couldn't do something as simple as picking up a package, he would be retarded. After putting on his clothes, Wang Yu went out to the mailbox downstairs. After opening the mailbox, he saw two envelopes lying quietly in the mailbox. The two envelopes were heavy. On them were written, "To Yu Xian, the leader of the Motley Crowd team," and "To Iron Ox, the leader of the Motley Crowd team." Looking at the sender, it turned out to be Longting Company. Longting Company? Wang Yu glanced at the sender in confusion. Then he tore open his envelope, revealing a card that seemed to be made of gold. He took out the card and looked at it. On it were the words "Invitation" written in gold. "Dear Mr. Iron Ox, hello." It turned out to be an invitation to the professional league. Seeing that the invitation was specially sent in an envelope, it was enough to show the seriousness of the invitation. This time, the professional league was personally organized by Longting Company. The venue was in Linhai City, and the time was a week later. While Chuanjin's group was fighting for the right to enter, the professional teams that had signed up to participate in the professional league had also begun to compete. These things were basically known by players who often paid attention to the professional team competitions online. Although Wang Yu didn't watch the competition videos, the veteran players of Chuanjin often talked about it. Wang Yu had heard it many times and was no stranger to it. Today, after receiving this invitation, Wang Yu couldn't help but be excited. Wang Yu had also dealt with professional-level experts. There was the #1 tank in the national server, Thunderlord, Archer King Bloodrain, and the Grim Reaper's left hand that Chuanjin often pulled out to whip and insult. These guys were strong, and they were no weaker than Chuanjin. Even with the retired 12 stars, Chuanjin's group didn't dare to guarantee that they could win. Moreover, those who could fight their way into the professional league were all experts in their prime. As a martial artist, Wang Yu's desire for PvP was actually much higher than that of ordinary people. It was just that bullying noobs in the game made Wang Yu unable to bring it up. Now that experts from all walks of life were gathered in one place, Wang Yu felt excited just thinking about it. At this time, Mu Zixian had also gone offline and was washing vegetables in the kitchen. She heard Wang Yu humming a tune as he entered the house. Mu Zixian walked out with a vegetable in one hand and asked, "What did you do? You're so happy, and you didn't say anything." "I got a delivery," Wang Yu said happily. "Delivery? Did you buy anything?" "No." Wang Yu smiled, waved the invitation in front of Mu Zixian, and proudly said, "Look what this is." Mu Zixian also glanced at the card in Wang Yu's hand, rolled her eyes, and said disdainfully, "I thought it was something important, an invitation. Look at your inexperienced face." Wang Yu touched his nose embarrassedly and said, "So you know what this thing is? Isn't that obvious?" Mu Zixian waved the vegetable in her hand and said, "Don't forget what I used to do. This thing is equivalent to a few VIP admission tickets." Just when Wang Yu was confused, Li Shui also happened to come out of the bedroom. Seeing the invitation in Wang Yu's hand, she couldn't help but say, "Brother, you received the invitation. Longting Company is really stingy." Chapter 1195. Stingy. Even though Wang Yu was inexperienced, he had never heard of an invitation having such a meaning. Seeing Wang Yu's expression, Mu Zixian smiled helplessly and explained, "Professional teams receive round-trip tickets, and their food and lodging are free. We only have one ticket. F***CK. Hearing Mu Zixian say this, Wang Yu finally understood. Meow, they were both contestants, but the gap was a little too big. There was a saying, "Don't worry about poverty, but worry about unfairness." Even though they were all amateurs, the difference between them and professionals was so obvious that it made people unhappy. This was blatant discrimination. But thinking about it, the slogan of the Pro League was that everyone could participate. But ask yourself whether it was the players who went to watch the competition live or the players who watched the competition at home. They were all aiming for the pro players. Other than their friends, who would care about those amateurs? Clearly, this slogan was for everyone to participate, but in reality, it was a fake business. In the end, everyone knew what the position of amateurs was. Even if amateurs went on stage in front of these pro players, they would at most be a punching bag. They would let the pro players fight a few beautiful matches and, at the same time, let the audience have an appetite. One ticket to buy a professional sparring partner. Where else could they find such a deal? But even if everyone knew this, being able to fight against pro players was also a dream for many players. If they could win a match, wouldn't they become famous? Everyone had a utilitarian heart. In general, one was willing to fight, and the other was willing to suffer. Otherwise, why would those guys at Chuanjin be so resistant to this? Only a super strong gamer like Wang Yu would take the invitation seriously and dream of winning the championship. If it were any other amateur player, they would all know what their position was. And because of this, Mu Zixian wasn't surprised at the invitation in Wang Yu's hands. Amateurs, letting you go on stage is already a blessing. Don't think too much about it. Fortunately, Wang Yu is still relatively optimistic. Although he was very unhappy with the organizers' behavior of not putting amateurs in their eyes, when he thought of competing against experts, Wang Yu temporarily endured it. After all, regardless of whether they were professional players or amateurs, everyone spoke with their strength. It was only natural that they would be ignored if they were incompetent. Wasn't it just paying for their own expenses? Anyway, they didn't lack that bit of money. When selling gold coins, they could just avoid the transaction tax a few more times and earn it back. Of course, Wang Yu was not the only one who was depressed. After logging in the next day, Chuanjin's group did not seem to be in a good mood. Obviously, they had also received an invitation yesterday. The nickname of this group of bitches was desperate to take advantage of others, rather die than suffer a loss. Being treated like this, their moods were naturally not too good, especially Mingdu, who knocked on the table and cursed, F***CK. This loaning company's business is so big, but they're actually so stingy that they actually sent me an invitation. To place one's pride also echoed, that's right, I'm so far away from Western Shu, and I have to ask for leave to play a match. How dare they not reimburse me for my food and accommodation? That's too much. Famous Sword Daoxue even made a small abacus out of nowhere. After a series of calculations, he finally came up with the bill. Even if there are only 12 of US going, with the consumption level of Linhai City, it's still not a small amount. F***CK. I only have 50 yuan a month as pocket money. This time, thank you for your help, brothers. Next time, I'll make up for it when I earn money. Chun Xiang made a fist and palm salute to everyone bitterly. Sigh. Everyone lowered their heads and sighed. No one knew whether they were mourning for the miserable brother Chun or feeling depressed because they had to pay for the match. Only Wu Ji looked indifferent, as if he was thinking about something. Seeing that everyone was so depressed, Wang Yu thought for a while, stood up and said, "How about this? I'm the captain of the team. How about I pay for the match this time?" The match was originally proposed by Wang Yu, and the ultimate goal was also for Wang Yu's interests. From the beginning, Wang Yu had made up his mind to pay for it himself. However, hearing Wang Yu's words, everyone said, "Old cow, what you said is a slap in our faces. Who here lacks this little money? It's just that you feel unbalanced." That's right. The team belongs to everyone. Why should Uncle Nyo pay for it himself? Then what should we do? Wang Yu also knew that these guys would not be polite to him. Hearing everyone's words, Wang Yu was also at a loss. There was no other way. Making Chuanjin unable to take advantage of them was definitely more painful than killing them. A group of lunatics was quite scary when they were entangled. Haha, bunch of idiots. Just as Wang Yu and the rest of the Chuanjin people were feeling indignant, Wu Ji suddenly laughed. "Oh, idiot boss, do you have any objections?" Everyone retorted without holding back. Wu Ji ignored everyone's mockery and said calmly, "No objections, but I have a piece of news to tell you." Everyone was stunned when they heard that, then said, "Say it." Wu Ji smiled and said, "I just talked to a sponsor. He will pay for the match this time." Sponsor? Once Wu Ji said that, everyone's faces crumbled. Holding back a mouthful of blood, they said, "We're an amateur team, and there's someone sponsoring us." Sponsors were the financial groups behind professional teams. After all, in this era where entertainment was paramount, the advertising effect of competitive stars was no lower than that of singers and movie stars. Signing professional experts to sponsor them was also a common thing. However, Chuanjin was just a motley crew. As for their reputation, there was no need to talk about it. Xuanzhen's infamy was a compliment. Someone actually dared to sponsor a battle team formed by a bunch of street rats? Was this person's brain not working well? Of course. Wuji glanced at Wang Yu and said matter-of-factly, "Who asked us to have the strength? The boss said that we will definitely win this time, so he sponsored us. Meat eaters are despicable. Who has the foresight to know that we have the strength?" Everyone asked in puzzlement. Sponsors had always looked at benefits and results. It seemed that this sponsor had some professional foresight to be able to sponsor an unknown team so confidently. "Do you still need to ask?" Wuji smiled and said, "Of course it's the big boss of evildoers run wild. He said that we should not let the goodies flow into the fields of others. It's much more stable to bet on us than on others. I think it makes sense, so I agreed." Everyone was speechless for a moment. Their gazes landed on Wang Yu again, and they said meaningfully, "Niu Gu, your brother is more suitable to do business than you." Chapter 1196. Needless to say, Xuanzhen was a group of people who were easily satisfied. No matter who it was, as long as they could take advantage of something, they would be in a good mood. Now that someone was sponsoring Xuanzhen's team, Xuanzhen's unhappiness of being discriminated against by the gaming company was immediately forgotten. Seeing everyone's expression, Wuji smiled and said, "All right, the matter of the competition fee has been settled. Should we consider pre-battle preparations?" Pre-battle preparations? How do we prepare? Have any of us played in a competition before? Everyone looked at each other with a dumbfounded expression on their faces. This was the biggest difference between amateurs and professional players. In addition to high-intensity training, professional players' daily work was to study the actual combat tactics of various maps, as well as the opponent's game videos to develop countermeasures. It could be said that they were always prepared, and they could enter the stage at any time during a competition. Amateurs were busy every day, leveling up and getting equipment. Although the game was fun, PvP was naturally avoided as much as possible, except for those madmen. Therefore, when it came to pre-battle preparations, even Xuanzhen's group, who usually liked to play with cats and dogs, did not know where to start. "Second brother, do you know?" Wang Yu turned to ask Yin Laoer. Yin Laoer had been in a sports team before. Although there was a big gap between esports and table tennis, they were both sports, after all. As the saying went, no matter how much change there was, the principle was basically the same. Well, Yin Laoer thought about it and said, "When we competed, the pre-battle preparations were to prepare for the handball, rest, and study the opponent's playing style." Makes sense. Hearing Yin Laoer's words, everyone came to a sudden realization. It seemed that Wang Yu had asked the right person. Rest did not need to be explained. Preparing for the handball and studying the opponent's playing style were obviously to improve their equipment and strength. In terms of equipment, Xuanzhen's group was not short of money. Moreover, they had been swindling and extorting for a long time. Naturally, they were overflowing with money. Moreover, professional blacksmith 345 was responsible for leveling up their equipment. Not only did they have a full set of dark gold grade equipment, but they also had an epic equipment each. Therefore, there was not much room for improvement in terms of equipment. As for their levels, apart from Wang Yu and a few other live profession players, the average level in Xuanzhen was above 55. There were less than 7 days left until the start of the competition. Based on the leveling speed of rebirth, it would be difficult to level up within a week. Moreover, the difference in attributes was negligible, so there was no point in wasting time on leveling up. Therefore, if the members of Xuanzhen wanted to improve, they could only start with actual combat and cooperation. After all, half of the people in Xuanzhen were newcomers. Although they were very familiar with each other after a few months of practice, they were still far from being able to compete with professional players. After thinking for a while, Wuji suggested, "Let's not fight for the next few days. Let's get familiar with each other first. If we don't fight, how are we going to get familiar with each other? Are we going to attack the players?" Everyone questioned. "Idiot," Chun Xiang said in disdain. "Of course we're going to fight in the arena. You want us to help you get materials, right? Everyone gave Chun Xiang a meaningful look. It was very obvious that this old fellow had very heavy, selfish motives. That's right. Not only did Chun Xiang not deny it, but he also said shamelessly, in order for everyone to have motivation, I can only sacrifice myself so that everyone can improve together with me. F*CK. Shameless. Everyone was speechless. Brother Chun is right. At this time, Wuji also said, fighting in the arena is a good idea, and we can also get points to exchange for materials to sell to Brother Chun. Sacrificing yourself for our Brother Chun, you really put in a lot of effort. You're worthy of being the big brother, with unquestionable integrity. Wuji emphasized on the word sell, and noble character, and unquestionable integrity. After all, he was the most treacherous person in the Chuanjin sect. When he pushed Chun Xiang into the pit, he also filled it with soil, directly cutting off Chun Xiang's escape route. The others understood and immediately echoed in unison. Brother Chun is of unquestionable integrity. F*CK. Chun Xiang fiercely pointed his middle finger at Wuji. Wuji smiled slightly and ignored it. Just as everyone was joking with Chun Xiang, Wuji noticed Wang Yu who had not said a word. So he asked, "Why is an old cow saying anything? Do you have any better suggestions?" "No." Wang Yu shook his head and said, "You guys go, I won't be going." "Why?" Hearing Wang Yu say this, the noisy crowd immediately quieted down and asked in confusion. Wang Yu is usually very sociable. Why did he suddenly want to leave the group at this time? Wang Yu smiled and said, "You guys still have room to improve. I won't be joining." Indeed, the higher one's strength, the harder it was to improve. With Wang Yu's current strength, with the standard of the arena players, even if Wang Yu went, he would only be able to bully noobs. There would be no improvement at all, unless he reached level 80 in one go and completed the second breakthrough awakening quest. Even if he and the people from Chuanjin fought in the arena for a month, it would be useless. Moreover, with a crushing expert like Wang Yu around, the people from Chuanjin would be like they had a main character to carry them no matter what. If Wang Yu went with them, not only would he not be able to improve, he would also affect the progress of the others. After all, professional competitions did not rely on a single person's strength. If he had the time, he might as well start from other aspects. Seeing that Wang Yu wasn't going with the others, To Place One's Pride was dissatisfied and said, "Uncle Nyo, if you don't go, how can we cooperate?" "Mph." Wang Yu smiled and said, "It's fine as long as you guys cooperate. It's easy for me to cooperate with you guys." To Place One's Pride blushed. What Wang Yu said was right. It was easy to cooperate with people who were weaker than oneself. It was like playing LOL, where the expert player would fill in the gaps. Of course, Chuanjin all boasted that they were experts, so Wang Yu was embarrassed to say it too directly. After all, for gaming geeks like Chuanjin, it didn't matter if you said they were retarded, but you couldn't say that they were bad at the game. But no buts. The others still wanted to say something, but Wuji waved his hand and interrupted. "You bunch of trash. Do you want Old Cow to tell the truth? Don't you know your own level? You guys are also famous experts. You should also get used to not having Old Cow to lead the way." F*CK. Everyone was depressed. Although it was the truth, saying it out like that really hurt their pride. Hee. Wang Yu laughed mischievously and gave Wuji a thumbs up and said, "I didn't say that. If you guys are unhappy, you can beat him up." When everyone heard that, they immediately glared at Wuji and clenched their fists so hard that they made cracking sounds. Wuji very skillfully squatted down in the corner, held his head and said, "Don't hit my face. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."